What is going on? Of course my camera starts off. Why wouldn't it start off? Let me go ahead and fix that real fast. And there we go. Of course. Took a hot moment, but here we go. Austin Cole, how you doing? I'm excited. I hope you're excited. I hope all of you guys are excited. We've got a really fun show for you today, just as we get to go through a couple of names before I head down to Mobile to cover the Senior Bowl that I know I'm going to be looking at, because in the world of the draft, I mean, look, you don't have to be a draft head or to understand that there's not a ton you can... Okay, look, let me start from ground zero, right? People like me that aren't going to sit in draft interviews don't know everything. We don't. I mean, I can't call a scout and have him take my call, like a scout at Ohio State. I don't have a contact at SMU. I really only get scattered tape. I don't even have a data bank of that, but we do what we can, and I come to the evaluations that I can see. But for something like the Senior Bowl, what really helps a fanalist like myself is that I can jot down a couple of questions that I have about various players, and then I can go watch them practice live and see what they look like. Yes, it's a little bit of a controlled environment. I understand that. But the complicated piece of this, I mean, cheers J2K, how you doing? Is let's use the first example that I have for you, because next week I'll be headed to Mobile, and I don't think that there's any player with as much to gain as Rashi Rice, which might be a little surprising to hear. Why Rashi Rice specifically? It's because the film that we'll go through here in a little while, you'll see Rashi Rice can move like crazy. He's got a great frame. He's relatively big for as quick as he moves. He can play a lot of positions in the NFL, but within SMU's offense, which is very... Look, I'm trying to figure out somebody else. You know what? We can say, who's that TCU coach's name? Sonny Dykes. We can call it a Dykes offense, because it's definitely not Art Briles' offense, right? But it's almost literally like if you aren't the primary receiver or on the primary side, because almost everything is split straight down the middle between like pick-a-side reads, you just stand there and you rest. And while that is... I don't know. While that is... Oh, hang on. Let me text my wife back. But so while it's strange, certainly, to see one side resting and another side not resting, it also means that as far as a receiver in the NFL, you don't understand not only his stamina necessarily, but what he's going to look like. Stamina as in what he's going to look like across a whole game. But also, he's not going to run quite as deep a route tree, because they're not even attempting to be a pro-style offense. They're a spread-out attack that's just trying to move the ball. After all, they are a college offense built to win in their conference, not trying to make everybody feel better about their draft-specific players. Demo, how you doing? What's going on? I'm doing all right. I hope you are too. One fun thing that we've got is so tonight is a relatively short stream. We're not buckling in for 2 hours or for 4 hours as much as I would love to. We've got 2.5 hours, and within that, we're going to hit my list of players as much as we can here. I'll even show you the list just so it's not completely out of the blue, right? So as far as receivers go, guys that I like heading into the draft that I want to see a little bit more of, or heading into the weekend: Rashi Rice, Jaden Reed out of Michigan State, Xavier Hutchinson at Iowa State. His tape really impressed me. Charlie Jones is an interesting name from Purdue that I'm certainly interested to see a little bit more of. Michael Wilson is a Stanford receiver that I am enamored with, and the only 2 times that I've actually watched him play, he went up against Christian Gonzalez and this corner right here, Mekhi Blackman, and he did not perform near as well as I would like to, but he can move too well for his size, and absolutely has me, I don't want to say salivating, but really interested what he'll look like away from a Stanford offense that's quickly turning into Wake Forest. If you know, you know. Duntavian Wicks is a draft Twitter favorite that I think is really... Look, more than anything, I want to know a little bit more about him, but I'm not as crazy about him as maybe some others are going to be. Jonathan Mingo is an interesting name that, if anything, it's so I'm realizing the more that I've watched receivers, because I'm going to Mobile when I'm in Mobile, and I'm going to stand here and I'm going to watch the when you go to Mobile and the teams break up for individual drills, you get wide receivers and safeties and tight ends and some linebackers, and you get offensive line, defensive line on the other side of the field. So I quickly realized that a whole bunch of the offensive and defensive linemen that I was watching, I mean, I got names. If you want to talk about Darnell Wright, Cody Muck, like, we can. But I had to kind of ditch it because while during building the board, which I'm cutting up the first episode of right now, it's nothing crazy, it's just an intro. I'm the tight ends guy, among other things. Tight ends, DBs, probably some linebackers while I'm at it. Thank you so much, you dog. Like, of course, anytime, you dog. I'm here. Turu, we will be looking at tackles soon because I'm going to bring in Quentin Crisco in this stream around 9:30, and we're going to walk through some of the guys that he's seeing. So know that offensive line content is coming, and it is coming tonight. Andre Yoshivas, yes, that's how you pronounce his name, is he's like the 6'6" or 6'2" plus sweet receiver, or at least fast receiver out of Princeton, that I want to know how he's going to handle a week in Mobile against, non-Ivy League corners. Because once you take that step up, especially because some of the guys that he's going up against, who coincidentally are totally on the separate name. Yeah, no, Turu, you would have thought, right? But so, Demo, I'm keeping an eye out for him. So when you see these two tight ends, I got off in my tight end watching. So Luke Musgrave and Josh Weil, I haven't watched, so I'm not putting them on or off this list. But CBs, safeties, wide receivers, I feel pretty good at, as far as having watched the guys that are going to the Senior Bowl. They keep changing the roster on me. But so when you look at Yoshivas, the most interesting piece about him is that guys like Julius Brents, Tyreek Stevenson, and Rejzon Wright are big, long, physical corners. Caillou Blue Kelly probably fits into that mold as well. And I wonder how the big Princeton guy that doesn't really get pressed all that often is going to handle NFL grade jam, because that's what you're going to see a little bit more of in Mobile. These drills should favor the receiver. So if you read reports about Yoshivas getting bullied, no, that's not so great. Puka Nacua is another interesting name. He's a deep threat out of BYU. He's a big dude. And he tore Baylor in half in 2021. I don't know if he played as much this year. Look, I can't pretend to you that every single draft report that I have made, because I'll start cooking up more of them after the Senior Bowl. I basically needed to watch a lot of guys before I could go out there and confidently say, this receiver is good, this receiver is not good. Carson, I get it from three separate, DM me on Twitter and I could show you where I get them from, but three separate donation-based film banks, and the most popular of which is Caddy's Cut-Ups. And so I rely on that stuff. It's all fairly public access. This isn't closed door channels per se, but it's only so many of them are so helpful. And then from there, I have to go digging. There's more of these guys than I want to admit that I'm having to do at least some evaluation off of broadcast tape, which is just never fun. You just hope that you get that wide angle lens, right? There's some sweet safeties coming to Mobile. Sidney Brown out of Illinois, Ji'Ayer Brown out of Penn State, and Christopher Smith out of Georgia are really, really good safeties. Sidney Brown in particular, when I look at him, he reminds me a lot of Jalen Petrie in that he is a hitter in the run game that can also drop back and play plenty of coverage roles as both a dime backer and a true Tampa 2 safety or flat cover 2 safety, which I find really impressive. Ji'Ayer Smith, if there was such thing as an heir apparent to Eddie Jackson, Ji'Ayer Brown is that dude. It is fun watching him play. In his game against Ohio State, he basically was the Penn State defense on the back end, and it is super, super impressive. Coverage instincts might be some of the best in the draft, and while I haven't watched, admittedly, while I haven't watched a ton of the first round guys, Ji'Ayer Brown blew my socks off. And it would be tough for me to pass on him in like the third round, just given how good he is, because it's going to be hard to make me feel like there's a better player available. His real only criticism is his size, which is not that big, right? Christopher Smith is a really good safety out of Georgia, and his real only problem is that, okay, so if you can envision this, Christopher Smith is that guy who you say, Chris, you did so many of the hard things right. You read the play, you read 2-1 from your receiver. You backpedaled properly. You got right into place. Your hand was even in the neighborhood, and the ball just happened to go right through your hand, and the guy got that, or like pulled the catch off. Hey, next time we'll get it, but you had a lot of the hard stuff right. Let's fix the easy stuff. I don't know if that'll ever go away. I mean, I can't say for sure I know, so I've docked Smith a couple points in my grade of him for whatever that means, but it's funny watching him play, as there's a lot of the hard stuff that he does really, really well. Aggressive safety, plays fearless, love it. I love safety play, if you can't tell. It's quickly becoming my favorite position, just in terms of, I don't know, I would consider myself more of an offense guy. I've really fallen in love with grading tight ends, by the way. That's been a whole lot of fun. But let's get into some film, because I feel like that's what you're coming to the channel for. I wouldn't blame you if you did. Plus, why wouldn't we want to watch some of these guys? J2K, I did want to respond to what you said earlier, talking about that there's a PFF show claiming Charlie Jones is the best route runner coming out, better than JSN. That is a crazy good compliment. I see a little bit of that in Jones, but so the problem for me, J2K, is that when it comes to route running, I think that JSN has a skill to it that is hard to find. And I mean, like, I think there are a lot of NFL receivers that flat don't have this. I think there are a lot of good NFL receivers that flat don't have the ability that JSN does to just sell other routes. I mean, corners believe JSN will do things that other receivers just can't fake. Like, other receivers have to run and challenge a catchman stem. You know, when you see a corner sitting about 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. Here, I'll wind us to the first play, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is a good example, especially once you get this corner moving over. I just don't want to catch the snap. All right, so this is Caddy's cut-ups, C-A-D-D-Y, that we're getting the film from. Because you're going to see the yellow arrow that's pretty indicative of his film, I feel like I just have to mention it. Of course, John, I'm feeling definitely better. I mean, there was a point where would have been the whole stream, and that sucks. But so a stem like this, J2K, is a great example of like a route that many receivers, they've obviously got to run right up here, and somewhere in here maybe they'll break off for a slant, maybe they'll give like a hip wiggle and then they'll run an out, maybe they'll like drive past him, run up. You get it. It could be all kinds of things. JSN seems to catch people believing things that, like, believing lies that other receivers just can't get their guys to believe. And maybe part of that is the fact that JSN's a better athlete than I think. So some are starting to get the impression that JSN's like a 4'6" guy. Like, not literally, but the way they talk about him, they make him sound like he's flat unathletic, and he's not. At least not near that unathletic. He may not be a blow your socks off deep threat, but he's certainly fast enough. And JSN deploys so many. Look, J2K, if you told me it was film study, I'd believe you. If you told me it was if you told me it was film study, I'd believe you. If you told me it was crazy agility, I'd believe you. I would believe a lot of things, because JSN's tape is bizarre. And you, dog, when you say, is it fair to ask, is it fair to ask if he'll be able to sell that stuff to more experienced corners? It's fair to ask, though I'll tell you that so let's put it this way. Imagine an actor or a poker player. A poker player is a better example, right? If you're good enough at playing poker, people just have to take people just won't read you out. Does that make sense? Like, you can just hide it. You can mask it. And the magic for JSN is that he doesn't line up out here, right? He lines up in here in the slot. And why is that magical? It's because you can run a lot more. What we're watching Spectre is specifically, I want to start with Rashi Rice. I want to at least give you some of his film. So let me pull up my notes and see if there's any specific plays that we can talk through, because I really do have a lot of players that watching the draft is fun. It's a lot of work. It's fun. And so watching somebody like Rashi Rice is so funny if for no other reason than wow, it is fun watching these guys and getting a feel for what they do. I forgot that the first play that he has is no lie a touchdown. Like, or at least a huge play down the field. So here you should be able to get a sense for how he moves. How a player moves, I think, is core. Yes, there's a whole lot of technique. Yes, there's a whole lot of things that frankly we need to watch when we're talking about a player. But I can't help thinking that there's nothing I have found more helpful at an NFL level than watching how does a player move? Because plenty of players, and unfortunately I'm talking about David Bell, will disqualify themselves with their relative athleticism pretty much out the gate. And a lot of the more subtle things that they do at the NFL, or like in the NFL, a lot of the more subtle things that they do in college football just won't be as important as what they can do outside of it. As you can probably tell, Rashi Rice is a big dude. I mean, at the very least, he is built like a whole train, at least when I'm seeing. He's not 6'4", right? We're not talking about Equinemius St. Brown, but we are talking about somebody who is tall and thick. But as you just saw in that last play, every once in a while, the SMU offense just has their guys stand still. Like, I mean, you said it perfectly, J2K, that you said it perfectly when you talked about how there are some of these formations that get some guys like Jalen Hyatt crazy open. I mean, formations that won't work at the NFL level. They'll spread out so far. And it's not that they won't work. It's that you got to remember that a Navy corner can't do near as much as what another corner can do. I mean, look at this play and tell me that Rashi Rice has any desire to catch the ball. He's not even part of this play, right? He just ran like 60 yards downfield. They're giving him a break because it's that kind of stuff's built into the offense. Like, think of it as think of it almost as like a rope-a-dope, where some offenses really like to keep their guys fresh one way or another so that you can wear out the corner across from you and then run like 4 routes a game. The problem is for somebody like Rashi Rice is it means that I, as an evaluator, get like a quarter of a normal game tape to evaluate somebody. We're going to watch Ji'Ayer Hutchinson next because I have to show you this kid. I'm really excited about him. And in Ji'Ayer Hutchinson's tape, you will see in one drive more quality reps than you'll see from Rashi Rice, because half the time, Rice isn't even part of the blocking assignment. I mean, this one he was fine. He wiggled a little bit, almost fell over his hand, or like fell over his feet. But I would tell you that Rice, who I have at the moment like a hazy second round grade on him, look, there's a lot of these guys with Mobile. My grade is not final at all. So don't, you can ask and I'll give you a grade unless it flat is incomplete. But like, Rashi's physical profile is really fun, and that gives you a lot of ability to that gives you a lot of flexibility when you're talking about drafting somebody, because you can't teach the frame, right? You can't teach the speed. You can't teach potential durability. You can't teach play strength. You can improve it a little bit, but use Sam Mustipher as an example. Is a guy with Sam Mustipher's proportions ever going to be huge or ever going to be an extraordinary athlete, right? Probably not. My wife is here with dinner. Give me a moment. She's wonderful. I'll get to eat when Q's talking. But so let's keep going. Within that, that means that, to me at least, Rashi Rice is a player that I'm going to be watching like a hawk come Mobile, because we'll get to learn a lot more about him for this exact reason. I mean, you look at the power in a block like this. I mean, they score off it. I mean, look, a blocker does not make you a receiver, but we can see the athleticism and the ability to play at the next level, can't we? Like, drives right on into the DB, pancakes the DB, and SMU's in for a score. Again, does this make all the difference? Not necessarily, right? But it definitely just leaves you with questions. You just sit there and you're like, this guy's This guy's an athlete. This guy caught 1,300 yards, and Navy is the only game tape I have of him. So I am dying to know more. I've tried to watch some broadcast stuff. The SMU broadcast stuff is absolutely killing me. There's just only so much I can actually take of trying to watch a guy. Because, okay, here's the worst part. Envision a TV broadcast. Now envision trying to pay attention to somebody who almost always lines up right in front of the lens, right? So he's cut off immediately. He runs to here, and I can't see him anymore. And it is so frustrating. And exactly. Let's see. Oh, that kind of consistency. Yes, J2K, I agree. And I mean, I'll tell you that Charlie Jones is very similar, but he's more consistent. Charlie Jones is what I think a lot of people want Ronnie Bell to be, to use an example, because that's, everybody wants the big school guy to be really good, because there's a lot of Michigan fans out there, and those Michigan fans want to be like, yeah, but that's my guy. And I don't blame him. I used to do the same thing with Baylor a lot, and I don't know if I'm just low on the kid, but like, Siaka Ika is a great example of a player that I like, but I don't think I like him as much as I want to, because of the fact that he's so big. He struggles to be impactful in the passing game, and I do think that really matters. Which, speaking of, you want to talk about a nose tackle impactful in the passing game. Did we all see the rumors? They're just rumors. But did we see the rumors and the speculation that Washington may be letting go of Daron Payne after all? Could there be anything more exciting than Daron Payne potentially in a Chicago Bear uniform? I don't want to get myself too far over my skis, but we're talking about a nose tackle that had 11 and a half sacks. Yes, in a Washington uniform, I understand. But if theoretically you stacked Jalen Carter and, oh man, was that Rashi? Which one was? There he is up top. So it's not like Rashi Rice has crazy athleticism, but for a guy his size, that's a cleaner break than I think I've seen plenty of receivers make. But it doesn't turn him into a second rounder. It's exactly why I look at a lot of tape of Rashi Rice's thinking, Mobile is pretty much going to, in my opinion, make or break Rashi Rice. Just because there's so much to Rice that I just have to see him up against some of these corners. I have to see him compared to some of these other receivers. Definitely, John, it's cleaner than the ESB break, and he's a bigger dude, that's for doggone sure. He's not as quick as others, but he's got the strength to be a powerful blocker. He looks to me like he could play any position at the NFL level, like whether it's X, inside, probably not slot, unless you were going with like power slot. But at the same time, right now, I can't help but feel like, and if you guys have seen this too, let's all laugh about it in this moment together. I feel like if a receiver doesn't fit somewhere, everybody just goes, he'll be a power slot. And not everybody can play slot. But, J2K, I'm very interested to hear what you think. So this is exactly what J2K talked about, where it looks to me like Rashi's going to run a relatively decent route, come back for the ball, rips forward, gets guys' hips turned, breaks, comes back for the ball, drops it, right? So we got to see more consistency out of Harry, because you're right, J2K, this really happens all the time. But you sit there with Rice thinking, if he could just be consistent, we might have ourselves a player. But Bears, if they are going to be looking somewhere in the second round. Let's go ahead and move on. So I'm going to be giving you like a taste, right, of a couple different kinds of receivers. So we've got too many to go through, so we just got to go through them quickly, especially since there are interesting players all over the board. So let's now take a look at Xavier Hutchinson. So the only tape that I have of X, as he's known, is from 2021. So I'll cut more up another day, and I'll see if I can't get access to some 2022. But let's start here, and let's go from here. Let's see. Great and terrible in the same play. I like the way you put that. So Xavier Hutchinson, big thing to watch. You know what? Hang on. Let's see. Here we go. Let's start at like 1810. It's funny watching human beings play football because you think that they're going to show you exactly who they are immediately, and they just don't always. Xavier Hutchinson was one that needed to wind up a little bit for me, but once I saw it, I saw it. So here's something I want you to notice. We're watching number 8. I think that's him. It is. Take a look specifically at his arms. Notice the fact that we're talking about a 6'3", 205 receiver with arms that I think his wingspan is longer than standard. I mean, his arms are long. Thank you, Julian. Is that him up there? It might be him down here. I have to get used to what the player looked like again every time. Oh, he may not have been on the field. Huh, that'd do it. I think that's him up top. Oh, such good movement for a big guy, J2K. Like, such good movement. I think that, yeah, that's him. 8. With the big, long, white arms. Or, like, white wrist things, I guess. Let's see here. Let's skip to 2045. Because I want to show you the way this guy moves. And you really do get a lot of plays where as you try to evaluate one person, you're like, that play doesn't matter, that play doesn't matter, that play doesn't matter, that play doesn't matter. All right, take a look at this. Can't remember if it's a catch, but just watch his movement, right? Snappy off the line, breaks wide open. Oh, he's gone. Well, that'll do it, won't it? They throw a flag for excessive celebration. That's not a joke. But watch again at the fact that we're talking about a guy almost ESB's size, right? And I'll take you through it. I'll take it as slow as I can. Hard step off the line. Drives inside immediately. This is against Oklahoma State, by the way. So for anybody who doesn't know the Big 12, this is a very respectable defense that went to the Big 12 championship and lost by a point. Immediate separation. Uses his frame relatively well, and then just catches it and takes it to the house. Look, is he going to go to the house every play in the NFL? No. But what I really, really like about watching Xavier Hutchinson here is the fact that he will then use those arms. So you see that almost Z receiver agility, not quite slot receiver, but Z receiver agility and experience with his breaks, and then putting it into practice, he will then extend his arms, use that physicality as if he's an X receiver. So you kind of get the best of the both worlds. And how much of that will work at the NFL level, I can't pretend to tell you I know. But what I can tell you is that snappy movement like this and little breaks, I think, go an awfully long way towards potentially being or giving you a lot of ways to win, right? And the way, or like being able to generate a bunch of different ways to win gives him, I think, as good a shot as you're going to find at being productive in some capacity, finding a role at the NFL level. I think he's got another touchdown coming up. He gets a 15-yard flag bump back because college has a really hardcore taunting rule. And see, there he is, number 8, coming across. Run play. Yeah, here it is. We got number 8 right here. Pop, leverage, catch. You love a good competitive catch. It's nothing crazy, right? It's not something that'd be all over highlight reels, but all the same, especially when you're talking about a receiver that might be more of an X receiver, even though I think he might have a better fit at Z, just given his nature. That's a sweet little play. Like, this is 2021 film, so I need to look up what happened in 2022. I'm sure there's plenty. But hey, also, speaking of, for as much as we love the Brock pot here, there he is. 2021 film is sweet. It's not necessarily sweet, but it's just funny because we're talking Brock Purdy, of course. So it's just funny to see him there. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to show a couple more because I have the notes to do it. So bear with me for a moment. I can't see your comments because I'm looking at my notes. Let's see. No. All right. There's just no good way to do that based on the way that I wrote this in an Excel sheet. Don't we all love Excel? All right. Take a look here. I wrote that he has a really nice snap down route. Breaks, and he's out. I think this stuff matters, especially since we saw an interception may be caused by it. The ability to just sink your hips, break down, and quickly come in and out of your break is really important as a receiver. Let's see. I've got one for subtle push-offs, and then we'll shift on to another receiver. Gets up to the top. There it is. I don't think... Jeepers. He almost catches it. But take a look at the way he runs this route, right? So he's going to get to the top of his stem where, if you can't tell, he's not going to blow the doors off you in terms of his speed. But that arm extension right there, it gives him almost a literal yard of separation just by popping his arms out. He can outreach you. And when he does outreach you, he's going to suddenly create some space that a better throw leaves him with almost 2 full yards of separation. Again, will this always work, especially with some of the long corners in the NFL? Who's to say? But his ability to, again, create that separation, that distance, is really nice. One, we'll have to see. Scott, you mentioned, is Xavier a poor man's Quentin Johnston? No, I don't think so. If only because Quentin Johnston is kind of his own thing. Quentin Johnston is, honestly, I don't feel like Quentin Johnston is your normal X receiver. The more I watch him, Scott, like, Quentin Johnston occasionally plays kind of like a Z, but he's so big that the fact that he's so fast is... It's just kind of comes with the play. It's interesting to watch him. It really is, Quentin, and just get a feel for it. In terms of a couple others that I want to talk about, look, I could talk to you about Jaden Reed. I could talk to you about, so he's a smaller receiver. You know what? I can find at least something, right? Jaden Reed is as competitive gets. I mean, you want to talk about a receiver that I don't think I would normally like because I don't feel like he's as fast as I want him to be. And yet, the more I watch him, what is this? We got 2021. Let's do the 2022 then. So Jaden Reed is a relatively small, as in 5'11", or he's listed as 6'0", 185. He looks kind of 5'11"-ish. He's number 1. So this is him right here. I'll start at the 1 minute mark so that you can see the fact that, I mean, you want to talk about a worker, somebody who like wants to win. Name your corny coach word. Jaden Reed exhibits it. I mean, he's a receiver that plays like he's got a problem with you. I mean, look at that. Is it the best block ever? Not necessarily, but I mean, Jaden Reed, yes, rivalry, I understand it, but like, we're not a minute into the football game, and he's already throwing hands like he's George Pickens, right? Let me rip through, find some decent plays for us to take a look at. Okay, here we go. So I won't show the double move. I'll show you a double move. So double moves feel like cheating. They're like route running. They're like route running for free, just based on the way that they're normally cooked into it. But you can see at least a little bit of the fact that Jaden Reed does not have the craziest long speed. So you'll see him generate some separation around here and then lose a little bit of ground as he extends it a little bit further. But all the same, you could see a little bit of his toolkit as he pop, gets upfield, and he is open. And a quicker throw to that side doesn't lead to a pick, right? One more play that we'll look at least before I can tell you exactly what I'm thinking about him. Is it this one? Yes. So it's not that you're going to see him get open. I want you to see the main thing that makes Jaden Reed, let's call it special, right? Jaden Reed's foot frequency. So that is foot frequency. I want you, whether you're a draft person or just a Bears fan or just a football fan, to start paying attention as much as you can anyways to corners and wide receivers' foot frequency. It is how quick do they step, right? How many steps do they take in a stride, right? What's their stride length? Are they able to move well even without taking 100,000 steps per se? So take a look at this right here. I just realized these are both 2021, so we're still looking at last year's film, but look at all the steps he's able to take on something that is effectively a clear out route, as I understand it, because he's just pulling them this way on a must outside release go, probably so that they can try to hit 9-8-9, right? But like you're talking about, Sean, I mean, we're talking about from the snap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 steps in the amount of time it probably took the Michigan corner across from him to take like 7, partially because he kept freezing, right? It's not that it works all of the time. It's not about that. It's more what does this make him profile towards? Probably an inside winner in the NFL. Like, sure, you could probably do some Z receiver stuff with him. Might be somebody that could convert well to the slot at the NFL level. I doubt he's going to stick on the outside, that's for sure. But his foot frequency is something I want to see in Mobile because that's something he's better at than most people in his class. Now, the rest of the athletic toolkit, it's not like every step he takes, he just explodes downhill. He would have, without a doubt, he would have already been talked about. Like, you would have heard of him if you hadn't already, had he been. But you want to talk about competitiveness? All right, so I'm about to sound like a football coach's football coach, but like competitiveness is something that really does matter for draft picks. And when I say competitiveness, what am I looking for? Usually that's not a word that I'm thinking about, right? It's on a gotta have it down. What can you do? And like, you tell me this isn't a Moss. Like, this is a 2-point conversion, if memory serves. Yeah, they've got the little stick right here saying 1, but it is a necessary. I'll show you the scoreboard. Like, it's 28-30 with 12 to go in the fourth. You got to have this if you're going for it, especially if you're throwing a fade to your guy. You've got to have this. And so to me, not just seeing that he's earned the fade, but also that he's able to win it. And I mean, win it over the back of his guy, right? Like, jump up, snag that thing, hold it with a hand in your face. Like, it is tough. It is tough to hang on to a football when somebody's got 2 hands on your hands and is trying to take them off. Like, that's concentration. That's just, I hate to be like, that's desire to win, but like, it is. And that stuff matters in the world of receiver, because while, to use an example, while Anthony Miller, and it's not everything, I guess, while Anthony Miller may have been competitive, may have had great foot frequency, may have had a lot of things that honestly I see again in Jaden Reed, Anthony Miller had other problems with the playbook, with attitude, that developed themselves into trouble. But seeing a receiver that, to use an example, because I hate to point this out, Chase Claypool in Miami, right, or against Miami, had that deep ball, right, that everybody, including me, looks at and says, it's probably pass interference, right? There are some receivers that are competitive enough to where they will catch it anyways, or at least they will come darn close. And then there are other receivers, I'm looking at you, Trey Palmer, that when they're interfered with, right? And they look for the flag and they say, he interfered with me. What do you want me to do about that? There are some receivers that just don't take no for an answer. I love it. I mean, how do you not, right? It is when they separate themselves off of pure heart, grit, desire. Like, how do you not fall in love with a player like that? And Jaden Reed absolutely caught my eye on film doing stuff exactly like this. He has another catch against, I watched 2022 Wisconsin on broadcast, and at the end of the game, he has another crazy catch over the top of somebody to win the game. I mean, like, he jumps over the back and pulls in a similar 25-yard bomb off of just heart, grit, desire. And like you're saying, Julian, like, there are some, or the Odell catch is exactly that. Instead of saying, it's a bad throw, whatever, I got interfered with, like, you just go catch it anyways. And not everybody can do it because it takes hands plus competitiveness. But like you're talking about Spectre, those are some strong hands. We love to see it. So I got one more I have to show you because I'm more obsessed than I should be. Let's see. And then we'll probably talk a couple others that I feel like I'm obligated to. We may, if we're really loving it, right? We may do another day. Like, I don't know if it would be Saturday, Sunday, because obviously I guess it would be Saturday if it was going to be either of those. Let's see, because it's in here somewhere. Is it? Oh, it's probably Elijah. Yeah, it is. Okay, so J2K, I got to tell you, Elijah Higgins, not as excited about him as his running mate Michael Wilson. But let's talk two receivers that you're going to hear their names without a doubt. Like, you'll hear them at Senior Bowl. You'll hear them you'll hear them at Senior Bowl. You'll hear them in the draft. Elijah Higgins, number 6 for Stanford, and Michael Wilson, number 4. I really like Wilson. I think you should pay more attention to Wilson because Wilson. So to read you their make and model, Elijah Higgins is 6'3", 234. Former 4-star recruit, 24 years old. Like, there's plenty of sweet things that, he was 68% in his contested catches. I understand now, J2K. Like, not as in he was within 68%, like that 68% of his catches were contested. You're saying he was 68% on making contested catches. Yeah, that is a really good thing. Michael Wilson is 6'2", 210, also former 4-star recruit. So the only reason I don't like Higgins as much is that when you watch Higgins, if you can watch him for a couple plays, right, he's about as good a mover as you could be at 235, right? He is so big that there's almost a, what do I want him to be, right? Compared to that, Michael Wilson is really fast for a guy his size. Now, you're also getting a good look at Christian Gonzalez. Like, the only tape that I've seen of Wilson is him going up against sweet defensive backs, and Christian Gonzalez is a likely first rounder this year. So that's not to say, like, woe is him, right? If anything, it might be a preview of what he looks like in the NFL, which maybe we don't love that. But the Stanford offense is a little kooky. Like, they run a lot of these. Let's see if they do one here. They do. Okay, they do these, like, walking long mesh RPOs, right? That just, they don't make an offense bad. Stanford didn't exactly run them super well this year, so there's that. But they also just change what the offense is actually going to do. You're not going to run as much deep stuff. You're not going to run near as many pocket passes per se when you're running this kind of thing. But I love the joltiness in his movement. I mean, when you watch the way he moves, it is sudden, right? Pop. Whereas it feels to me more like Higgins, who does not suck. Higgins is fine. He reminds me of N'Keal Harry, honestly, where it's like, he's quick. He is breaking his full frame down as quickly as he can. He's got technique to the way that he runs his routes. Higgins is specifically, to remind everybody who we're talking about. Like, it is fun watching him. I just can't help but wonder what his future's really going to be at the NFL level. Compare that to somebody who's a little bit more sudden, and at least I can wonder, right? Wilson's season specifically was heavily slowed by injuries that kept him out of 2021, injuries that kept him out of the back half of 2022. So his overall profile is much riskier, but you better believe in Mobile. I am without a doubt going to be keeping his eye, or like my eyes on him. Like you're talking about J2K. So you mentioned size speed with Higgins. I can't help but think and promise J2K that I'm just being I don't know. When I think of Higgins, I think N'Keal Harry is not out of the question, right? Where you can't just be fast, you got to be very fast. And honestly, I may need to listen to the PFF podcast you're talking about because I'm curious as to what they specifically were citing with these two. But Wilson, I get why there's potential. Like, that makes sense to me. And it's not that Higgins wasn't successful. Higgins was plenty successful, but it's college. I mean, Ronnie Bell had 800 yards. Like, it's not to say that I think Ronnie Bell's awful either. Ronnie Bell's not some UFA, right? At least he's pretty sizey. But it's interesting watching a lot of these college players and recognizing not just how varied it is when you're talking about what production gets you versus not production. Wilson, in particular, is a workhorse of a blocker. It's not to say Higgins isn't, but I think my eyes just gravitated towards number 4 for pretty much the entire game tape. And let me see, I can probably find at least some play. Let's see here. Did I already get to 410? No. I think it's this one. For a 210-pound man, this is really nice foot frequency. Pop, inside. Kind of gets held a little bit. Not that it was a pass play, right? It's nice. Watching him move is fun. And like saying, J2K, if maybe Higgins pops off, that's totally possible. Let's see. When you say Wilson, are you talking Tyree Wilson, Nomad? Because Tyree Wilson's sweet. I'm curious as to where he's going to go. Just some more of these guys I watch. There's some sweet edge rushers in the class. And I just got access to, though I haven't looked at any of it yet, some 2022. Michael Wilson. Yeah. The 2 fractures are negative. And like you're saying, J2K, the injuries are going to scare off teams, without a doubt. I mean, if anything, that's the value. But you're taking a flyer. Because honestly, let's just call it what it is, J2K. There's a very strong chance with a guy like Michael Wilson that he's just never going to be healthy, right? But you take the good with the bad. You take the risk with a 4th, 5th rounder and just cross your fingers and hope. But yeah, exactly. Why not? John, I'm sad about the Pollard injury too, but it may make it easier to acquire him. But then you got to worry about whether or not he's ever going to be the same. All right, so we got 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I guess, while we're still thinking about receivers. So, look, there's a couple more. I don't have any tape of Yoshivas. We'll talk Mingo and Jones another day, but Jones is specifically a Z receiver that I think it could be really, really interesting. Mingo could make his way at X or Z, but he's not going to be the dominant X receiver that I think anybody's watching for. But he comes out of Ole Miss, relatively sizey, pretty quick for his size, and is a monster with the ball in his hands. So there's one tight end that Adam, I know. I don't have any all-22 tape, otherwise I'd show it. Showing straight broadcast shuts the stream down, so I can't do that. But we got to do what we got to do, right? If there's one player that really interested me early, and if anything, I'm stoked to go back to some of his tape, this is Braden Willis. I agree with you about Puka. I think he's really, really interesting. But Braden Willis, I think that's him, number 9, let me be sure, is really, 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 really big. Sebastian, I see the same thing. First of all, by the way, when it comes to Yoshivas, I don't see him catch with his hands all that often. He catches a lot with his body, The other thing, Sebastian, that I think is the big question for him, speed is awesome. Speed is a good thing. Speed is really valuable in the NFL. Acceleration might be as important as your top speed. That's not to say you can get away with one or the other. It's got to be a little bit of both, but you're only as fast as you can get in about 5 steps in the world of the NFL. Because while it's threatening that you might take somebody deep, if you can't accelerate pretty well, you struggle. And Steven, I don't know if he's a direct track star. I think he ran some serious track stuff, but I can definitely tell you that when Yoshivas is running like a here, I'll get to something. I'll get to literally any just standard look at the line of scrimmage. Whenever I've seen Yoshivas running a curl or an in of some kind, he generally won't accelerate nearly all the way. And 3/4 fast is still pretty fast for him. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of receivers, Jordan Addison to use one, are going to just rip at full speed and then hard break onto the inside, and that's just not his game. So the player that I want us to pay attention to, because, I mean, truly, this guy is fun, and I'm really interested to just see what he does at the NFL level, to be honest with you, is we're looking at number 9. This is a tight end, right? Specifically, he's not just a tight end. He's a 6'4", 240-pound tight end that, watch this break, if this is the play I remember it being. Snap. Plant foot, hard inside, no second step, wide open, right? 240 pounds. I mean, you want to talk about just an athlete. That is an athlete. And then not only is he as athletic as he is, but he plays all kinds of positions. I mean, all kinds of positions across this Oklahoma offense. He's a really good blocker. He's not as good as some of the other blockers that you're going to see, but because there are some of these guys like Payne Durham that might as well be like an extra offensive lineman, like truly an extra offensive lineman. And Braden Willis isn't that, but he is somebody that's going to go hit his spot. He is able to block functionally anybody at the collegiate level. And then, surprise, surprise, I mean, he plays quarterback in this offense. He plays H-back in this offense. They split him out at wide receiver in this offense. I can't wait to see more of him from a receiving perspective. Is he going to get chased down by a lineman? Julian, in the times that they have given him the ball, he has taken it quite far. And so here he is as the quarterback. I mean, he's running zone read. I don't know why they did it against Texas. I don't know if their quarterback got hurt or something. But, they were bringing him in to play quarterback and run zone read. He does a ton of stuff. He's maybe a bit too versatile. I mean, he's definitely not high tight end. He's not Dalton Kincaid. He's not, oh my goodness, Myers, whose name I'm suddenly forgetting because I keep thinking Michael Myers. By the way, I think 0 is DeMarvion Overshown. So check out this block right here, and it's a very, very, very good linebacker, number 0, and we get a sweet pancake. Right? Let's see. We get another shot here. Yeah, that's Overshown, who's a really good linebacker. I like Overshown. And Willis just takes him straight to the ground. Steven, I haven't watched Musgrave, so I need to get back to you on that. The fact that Braden Willis wasn't just running zone read for kicks, though, but instead, Mayer, that's it, Cars, but instead had the gall to pull it, to me was a whole lot of fun. Because when you see a tight end that's willing to be a flat football player, you go, all right. And then there's an edge rusher he takes on, bends out of the lane. Look, I'm not about to try to tell you that this guy is the gem of gems necessarily, but it is awfully fun watching him play and just wondering, okay, what can he do? What can he do? Let's see. I'll show you a couple of ones that I've got notes down for. I've got this one listed as a snag. Let's see, is it? Yes. Always nice seeing a tight end bail the guy out, right? Honestly, Julian, I don't know. When I looked, they didn't have something written for him. But like comes out of the basic tight end nub stance relatively quickly, snaps his head around. I think it's one-handed. Well, at least it starts one-handed. But let's see. Yeah, it's a nice little grab right there. Let's see. Oh, J2K, Marvin Mims is fun. Like a lot of the underclassmen. Hate to be this guy, but J2K, I think you're gonna agree. A lot of the underclassmen are better than the seniors in this specific receiver draft. I mean, like the Marvin Mimses, the Scott. You let me know. Would love it. But like the Marvin Mims is, the Zay Flowers is, the Josh Downs is, like I don't even have to necessarily be obsessed with Downs. If anything, J2K, the comments I know I made the other day about Downs mostly were in relation to people starting to push him into like 25th, right? Where it's like I don't think Downs is 25 overall, but I think he's really good. I think a lot of these guys are really good. And Marvin Mims is absolutely one of them. Like you're saying, or Julian, I'm really curious to see where Willis ends up getting projected because he's just all over the place. I mean, there's a bunch of, let's see here. It doesn't feel to me like he's got wild hog long speed. That's for sure. But let me see. I think he makes another solid cut here. Especially for a tight end, that's pretty solid. Though 240 pounds is like light from the tight end perspective. But watching the way that they placed him around had me wondering whether he could potentially be an option to replace Kari Blasingame. But I don't also feel like Kari Blasingame needs replacing. So I'm certainly not trying to thump for Blasingame to get or to go away. I got to show you Ji'Ayer Brown later on. He's a safety that nobody here is here to see. Not nobody. Who am I going to pretend? Like, I can't pretend necessarily that nobody here wants to see a safety, but let's at least start with a corner. We've got a couple corners that I think are going to be really, 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 really interesting to just watch play. I mean, you want to talk about, I think the name that's on the tip of everybody's tongue when it comes to the Senior Bowl, and no, it's not Devin Witherspoon. Devin Witherspoon is a beast. He's not coming anymore, which rip, right? So you can't follow the arrow on this one, right? What you are going to be looking for is the right outside corner because we're not watching Echo Boedoe. Oh, you can't even see the name up here. Don't follow this arrow. Watch 23 on this side. And to anybody who doesn't know him, his name is Julius Brents, and he really is that big. We only get like literally 2 to 3 plays of him before he gets ejected. So just soak it in while you can, right? This guy is 6'4", playing corner, and he's pretty good at it. Which the fact that he's even just pretty good at it is flat out incredible. 6'4", 202 specifically. Long, punishing with his arms. Really, really good in man. Really solid in zone. Young enough to be moldable within that. He's a corner that I definitely want to see play in Mobile because he could do a lot for himself here. Again, we're watching him right out here. He's got feet to match. You could see those long, long arms. He uses them well. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's this play where he's going to just smoke somebody and he's out of the game. I laugh not because he hit somebody in the face, but because it was hilarious feeling like I finally got tape on him and then, oh, just kidding, Robert. You didn't. But so, look at these arms. Like you're saying, Cars, like such a crazy long athlete. And thinking about what that frame could be with a little bit more NFL technique, I mean, he's a good-looking player that I'm certainly excited to see play, and I would keep your eyes on because, hey, I just got to say it, right? There's a chance that the Bears could hit negotiation standstill with Jalen Johnson, and Jalen Johnson is struggling to stay healthy. I mean, Brents is exactly J2K, a very... Look, I don't want to say a good percentage chance, but like if he falls to the right spot, he's almost a no-brainer. Like He's a good player with a crazy Flus frame, but he's not the only one. I mean, we don't have time to cover Rezjon Wright, so we're not going to. But Tyreek Stevenson is certainly not small either. Like, this is a Miami corner, and look at how big he is, right? Like, there are some big, long corners coming to the Senior Bowl, and Stevenson really pops too. He's a little less raw. Like, I agree with you, Nomad. I mean, number 2 for the U, like, he can play, and it's fun watching him play. Sebastian, I agree, gamer. We gotta, like, I definitely want to make sure you guys see this guy, because a lot of these receivers have a chance to make themselves something, right? In Mobile, these are the corners that they're going to be doing it against. Oh yeah, Sebastian. I mean, he's a playmaker. Like, big, strong. He's got relatively good feet for a guy his size. I think Brent's is longer, but I think Stevenson's a little bit more physical. Little bit. One thing that is nice about Brent's, in case you want one, or in case you want to, you can go to YouTube. You can watch the offensive line tape, because somebody cut it together, of Georgia, or not Georgia, TCU playing Kansas State in the Big 12 championship, and you get a couple reps, like a couple sweet reps here and there of Quentin Johnston versus Julius Brents. So if you do have any questions, you can see him against one of the best in the class, which is nice. He doesn't have quite the speed of Johnston, who does, but he's physical, he's competitive, and he has a couple reps, certainly, where Johnston tries to go inside on him, and Brents is able to engage his hands, keep things tight, and knock the ball away. I mean, we're talking about some seriously competitive corners here, and looking at the frame and size of a lot of these guys, like you mentioned, J2K, has me wondering what Flus is wondering, because he clearly drafted Kyler Gordon to be the nickel corner. I mean, clearly drafted Kyler Gordon to be the nickel corner. It wouldn't surprise me if they're going to try to, I don't want to say the word convert, but push him to nickel if they don't find some fabulous nickel in free agency or something. So, corner's never off the table. Like, it certainly can't be. And watching a couple of these guys certainly helps me see that if they wanted one of those long, Flus, Seahawksy corners, like, they're out there. Somebody said that they were Seahawks, and I'm like, yeah. That's another great way to put it. Like, handsy man corner with a little bit of his own experience. Like, that's what we're looking at here. Tura, I didn't think so, but at the same time, somebody could argue that Gordon was bad at everything in the originally at nickel, and it's not like I'd argue with you. Let's see. Spectre, you mentioned JSN isn't going to be there. Not even kind of. Tyree Wilson was slated to come to the Senior Bowl until he started getting projected not only in the first round, but the top 10. And it's not going to surprise you that he pulled out of the Senior Bowl. So the players they're going to be some first rounders, probably. But there are going to be plenty of players in Mobile that are on the fringe or second. Like, you get it. Yeah, right, Julian. And an illegal hit. Pete loves it. You get a lot of Josh Downs here. That's number 3. I forgot about this. You want to talk about, like, funny plays you see in college football? It's a swing screen, and the end picks it off. Like, you watch enough of this, and you almost forget about just the crazy weirdness that is this game. And then here's a defensive end who just takes it to the house and just gets amped up. I mean, it's fun, right? We'll watch a little bit more of Stevenson, and then we can hop around, because I know there's a player that we really do have to watch. And Downs, okay, so not that it literally matters, because when J2K and I talked about Josh Downs, this is him, right? I don't have his height and weight, or do I? Let me see. What did I just click on? Oh. Other film. 5'10", 180. So nothing crazy, right? When I talked a while ago about the difference between JSN and Josh Downs, it is a lot of these feet motion, or like a lot of these movements with his feet that are going to get people really excited about what he could do, but I don't know if they're all purposeful. I mean, you got to remember that efficiency is doing as little as you have to do to get open. That's not to say, J2K, that Downs can't get open. He clearly can. And I mean, from a draft perspective, you and I both know that seeing that level of agility and the ability to move your body like that is plenty better than not seeing it at all and wondering if a guy like Trey Palmer can make a 90-degree cut in the first place without it being about as round as it gets. So it's better than nothing. It's just, like with Downs in particular, I do wonder if there's a little too much flash or a little too much sizzle and not quite enough steak. But plenty of, I don't know. The other thing that doesn't help, okay, so nobody likes him. Especially nobody likes him here. But did we see that list that Peter Bukowski posted the other day of receivers drafted in the top 3 that are under 6 foot? Like under the Packers measurables, right? It's not a successful list. So at Downs being listed at 5'10", I do wonder, okay, he's got to play in the slot, right? He's not Calvin Austin, and I'm not going to pretend he is, but what does he have to do at the NFL level to succeed? And that to me, J2K, is where I look at Downs in particular. And I'm not saying it's impossible. I just wonder, right? Because when I watch Zay Jones, when I watch Zay Flowers, I see somebody who cuts with extreme precision. I mean, he cuts for reasons, if that makes sense. Whereas it feels like, to use a silly example, sometimes Josh Downs runs routes like he's in a dunk contest, but the dunks are routes, right? So it's like an ankle breaking contest, and he's trying to just put the DB on his butt, and that's great. Like, love the attitude. I really do. I will take an attitude from a wide receiver whenever I get the chance. My wide receivers don't need to theoretically be wearing a tie, but with Downs, I do wonder whether that becomes a problem that in the NFL, or that at the NFL level doesn't go away, right? There's a lot of 2021 tape. If you saw, we're looking at Sam Howell there, like, because this is 2021. Like I said, it's tough to find tape. The good news with Downs is that you get plays like this. Pop, big break, wide open. I mean, these are the fun ones, right? I'll show you one more time. Look at this break. It's like a jumping break. Like, what even is this? It's flashy. It's fun. He's gone. The agility is crazy. Like you're talking about, J2K, there is a team out there that if their wide receivers coach could get through to him, Josh Downs would be a nightmare. But I also don't want to be that guy. I never do. But we got to remember that for all the draft nicks out there, everybody loves Wan'Dale Robinson. Everybody loves KJ Hamler. Everybody loves Rondale Moore. Like, the smaller guys at the NFL level struggle. It's not to say they can't succeed. It's to say Josh Downs won't be a number 1 wide receiver, because it takes Tyreek Hill to be a number 1 receiver at that size, and nobody talks about how much of that comes down to Tyreek Hill's balance. Like, it's I don't know. Downs is, I think, J2K, the player that I am most polarized on, because he's kind of similar to Rice, but inverted, where Downs shows you so much to like, but he's got some red flags that he's just going to have to be the exception, because if he's not the exception, the rule isn't good, right? Whereas with Rice, there's a lot in his frame, in his athletic profile, in what he can do, that if he just fills in a couple of the gaps, like, you could really see something. But it's that the draft is just loaded with those kinds of players, aren't they? Of guys who, like, maybe, but maybe not. And I think that's so funny. I can't help but agree with you, J2K, that I don't think Downs is a Bears type receiver. The only one that might be would be like the only type of receiver like that I think would be JSN, partially because JSN's competitive as hell, partially because JSN blocks, but also partially because their quarterback went to Ohio State, and so did JSN, and they think that connection may help pull him out of a funk and justify a really good player to ownership when they need to. But I doubt that that's really what it's going to go down to. I don't know. Like, we'll see. But Stevenson, if you have been watching him on the outside, he's a confident mover. He's really comfortable in zone coverages, which I think is important if you're looking at a flu-style CB. I see him play a wide array of coverages, and this is like the year before, too, which is awfully neat. Parsons tweet about what specifically, Spectre? I mean, Parsons has had some firecracker tweets, that's for sure. But so Stevenson's a corner that I think that there's a lot to like. I'm curious to see what he does down in Mobile. Let's see. What other corners do I want to... do we have any Iowa Hawkeyes here? Because there is one more that we could talk in the world of corners. I was so pleasantly surprised with cornerback Riley Moss. 31. Let's see. We can find him. It's not that hard to find. Oh, here it is. Yes, Steven. I'm excited about it. So let's see if we can... No, that was 33. Rip. I was amazed. I mean, I really was. Like, oh, he might be 33. But all the same, more player that I at least want to roll the tape of before Quentin gets here. And that's Ji'Ayer Brown. Because, I mean... this game is something else. So you're watching the safety. Let's see. With what, Julian? It's 26, I think. Yeah, J.J. Watt makes a lot of sense. Spectre, I'm not about to pretend I think it's great. But I'm not trying to start any fights about a guy that I think that the Bears are not unlikely to sign for 8 figures. I'm just living with it. Let's see here. So you want to talk about fun safety tape. Really, really fun safety tape. I think this is exactly the kind of tape that I know I look for. So we got way too many adjustments. This is a really long tape because of stuff like that. But keep your eyes on 16, just with what he's able to do. And then let me find some decent examples. But you're going to see somebody that reminds you of good safeties you've watched in the... Oh, man, did I seriously pick this out on accident? Watch this, right? We're talking about a curl route over the middle. Easy completion for the quarterback, right? And the safety that drops to a too high shell is going to beat everybody else there. Who does that sound like to you? I mean, I'll freeze it. Like, you've got an overhang defender because it looks like they're dropping to Tampa 2. You've got an inside defender over here because, again, Tampa 2, that's what it looks like. And you've got the safety, Ji'Ayer Brown, already breaking on the ball. So it's barely fair. But, I mean, I think we could agree that in terms of actual distance, Ji'Ayer is almost twice as far away as 6 is. But that doesn't stop... It doesn't stop 16 from being the first one there on a third. Blows you away. Or at least it should. You've got a rotation over here, and I want you to watch how fearlessly he plays. Like, he's going to see that Ohio State's running somebody right up his file, right? And it looks like he's got sort of a hybrid cover 2 role. And then he's going to flip his hips, and the moment he does, he sees Stroud's arm, replants his foot, right? And drives back to hit the guy for a gain of 5 on second down. Huge play. I mean, watching him play like this, because that is fearless. Like, you have to be ready to get scored on. to make this kind of play. It's not that you don't have any help out there, but that's a lot to trust to your teammates when your body is telling you, all of your instincts are telling you, oh shoot, he's going to run by me, right? Like, to break down, and especially to show that kind of, look at this. I mean, this is Gordon-esque, right? Like, plant, hip, so momentum going straight backwards, plant, fire forwards, one step. No second step, right? All right, I am going to fiddle with my camera a bit so that I can get
on Tap Sportsnet, and I'm doing this Build the Board project with Robert and a few others over at Windy City Gridiron.
Absolutely.
So a lot of different things, a lot of different places, basically. What I expected to find looking into this, so really I was focusing in on offensive line, every position on the offensive line more than anything, but also looking at interior D-line and edge rusher. And I was expecting to find, I mean, I guess I didn't really set that many expectations on it. It was just kind of go in and try to keep an open mind on anything and everything. Mm-hmm. And man, a lot of these, this is a good offensive line draft.
Oh, I love that.
Mainly offensive tackle, and some tackles who might move into guard. A handful of those of guys who I really think would excel. And one thing that is a little different than what I expected is really the size of some of these guys. I mean, a lot of these guards and especially centers, we're talking some tall players, like 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", which is, you know, I mean, and granted, we're going off of listed height and weight on the college website. We'll see how true that is come Combine Day. But if it is true, I mean, that's a lot of guys who can fit into this system, because I believe that a lot of the wide zone concepts and stuff, that they tend to look for the longer, lankier, maybe a little faster offensive linemen who have you know, some more reach to be able to get out on the poles and the moves, or not the poles, I guess, but to get out on the move and be able to hit guys even if they're not in the perfect positioning because they have good size, good length. And this seems like a good class for that. Along at edge rusher, again, going in pretty just baseline expectations of we'll see what we find. And I've been impressed. There's some guys with some serious bursts in this class a handful who I don't think have quite gotten enough recognition for the bursts that they have and the ceiling that they have as edge rushers. It's just impressive to see the way some of these guys move off the football. And on the interior D line, really, I mean, I will say, so like, I've looked at a few nose tackles, and those guys have been outstanding run stuffers. And maybe this is just a reflection on what I'm watching or what I'm looking for, but I've seen a lot of good penetrators, a lot of guys who I think can really do well in the one gap penetrator role, mm-hmm. which is, you know, awesome for the Bears if it's not just my bias going through.
Oh, it's not. And whenever I think about that, by the way, Thomasina Alexander, thank you so much for subscribing. I'll tell you, Q, whenever I hear that word penetrator, I can remember my wife, who is a football fan. But when she first started hearing some of the jargon, she was like, why are so many football words so wrong? And that one in particular, I hadn't even brought up yet. It was just like, oh, this isn't going to go over well.
So I just about 10 minutes ago, I got done with Bears on Tap podcast. And during part of it, I was going through, you know, what that means. Like, what do you say? This guy's a one gap penetrator. I was like, so I wanted to describe it. And as I'm describing it, I'm like, this sounds so dirty.
It
like,
does.
I was just like, this guy can just shoot the gap and penetrate right away. Like, it just sounds terrible.
Well, what doesn't sound terrible is walking through some film. I've got your cut-ups right here. And I know you'll be working off of a little bit of delay. That's how it goes. But, like, who do you want to start with?
Will I be able to see?
You should be able to see
as we're going.
Like,
no, I got no video.
Do you have our stream pulled up? Because I can also screen share it. But I had this vision of you just. Oh well, I guess if you know which clip you're pulling up, you will be able to see. And I could just track forward, track backwards. But also we could try to do some sort of joined screen share. What do you want?
If we can do a joined thing, that'd be great, unless it's going to freeze everything up. Just so I can actually, like, you know, point out or know what I'm kind of looking through.
Let's see. Present. Oh, I could just present a screen. Yeah, that's great.
Oh, beautiful. That works.
Julian, it's not my fault. Okay? Okay? I didn't have dinner. Plead the fifth. All right, so within that, all right, so I've got your cut-ups ready. What do you want to talk about first, or who?
Let's hit Jared Patterson first.
Let's do it.
Right at the top, just because that's the first guy in my notes.
Go off.
So, Jared Patterson, been, a 4-year starter at Notre Dame. Played center the first 3 years. Graded out excellently if you're into PFF the last 2 years. Then this year, tore his pec, moved over to guard because they said Notre Dame was sitting there saying, we got this other guy who can play center really well, but I don't know if we have someone else who can play guard really well. So he took one for the team, said, I'll play guard all year with a torn pec, which is pretty impressive. He was a team captain last year, graduated, was a 4-star prospect out of high school, 6'4", 310 pounds. All the clips that I got here are him at center, because I'm really not that interested in him at guard. So some of the mobility with him is a bit more of a concern with me at guard, but not so much at center. And I think he can be a great fit for his own scheme. Like, you look there, you see the way that he just came off that combo block, and his hips just turn like on a swivel over to the linebacker just so easily, and he just blocks up that hole. One of the things I love about him is just he's constantly getting his butt in between the running back and the guy he's blocking all the time. Again, that footwork was just smooth, right off the combo.
That's nice.
Hit a big spot. Like, that was a lot of ground he had to cover. And I believe this next one is one where I really notice how he gets his ass right in between the guys blocking and the running back. He gets that turn.
It's like he follows him.
Yeah.
It's like
he steers guys.
It's like his
hands
butt is locked in. Like the running back passes by him when he moved.
And as I was thinking about that, like going through it, getting ready for this, I was like, what causes that? Like, why is he always able to steer these guys so easily? It's his hands. His one hand, his inside hand is always right on the chest, and his outside hand is always steering the direction. And it's something that he does so consistently, like right there, again, just easy. He's not going to dominate a lot of guys. He's not going to make guys look foolish that often. But what he is going to do is consistently open run lanes and be solid in pass protection. And that's one of the reasons I'm a big fan of this guy right now. And I think the fact that he played guard all year has really knocked his draft stock. I remember last year he was being talked about as maybe a second-round pick at center. And then he tears his pec, moves to guard this year, and I hear very little about him. PFF has him as the 142nd offensive guard in the class right now, but I don't think he's a guard. I think he's a center. I think he's a guy you can get in the mid to late third round, or that's kind of where I have him graded as a mid to late third round pick, and his big board ranks all the way down at 142nd.
That's not 142nd guard. That's 142nd overall prospect, right?
Yeah, I misspoke there.
No. I was just like, geez, that is doing dirty.
Yeah.
But I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, look, we don't have to pretend like the Bears have anything at center that they have to fight to keep, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Lucas Patrick was that bad as the starting center, but at the same time, if you can upgrade to get literally anything from your C spot, you should. Whether, or like, if you're the Bears. My only question with center, in particular, Q, is whether the Bears want to have a rookie learning alongside their third-year quarterback. Now, got to get a rookie center eventually, right? Like, it's not so hard a position that nobody's ever a rookie, but it's a bit of a prove-it year for him. Like, it makes a lot of sense to me to theoretically target a veteran, but Jarrett Patterson seems like insane value if he falls. Because like you're talking about, some of the draft is just letting the board come to you, you know? And if he's there around the 80s, the 90s, like, why wouldn't you jump on this guy? If even the 70s.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it makes a lot of sense. And I fully hear you about, maybe you don't want to insert a rookie with him, but I also feel like a guy from Notre Dame who's been a starter for 4 years and, running a more pro-style scheme like that.
It's a really good offensive line coach he's learning from, to your point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Harry Eastand, the good old scapegoat.
Somebody had to take the fall.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, and if they go out and sign Ethan Pochik, I'll be just fine with that.
Yep.
But if they end up, whiffing on a center, they focused on other guys and just missed someone who they might have liked at center, I think a guy like Patterson could be a great option.
Yep. Or, for instance, if they're targeting, say, John Michael Schmitz in, for instance, just to use an example. I know JMS gets a lot of press, but Q, to your point, if you're targeting John Michael Schmitz with 67 and he gets drafted at 48, you can't be hosed, right? You're a professional organization. You need fallbacks. And a talent like this, like, these are great reps. And speaking of great reps, we've got like, what did you give me? 13 guys?
Yeah.
Feel free to just rip through them. Like,
okay.
I know neither you nor I are trying to stay up all night long, right?
Yeah. So one last interesting thing on Patterson that I heard the other day that I thought was really interesting, made a lot of sense. This was after I'd watched his tape, was that he was an offensive tackle when he came to Notre Dame. So he has pass blocking chops like you would expect a 4-star offensive tackle to come into Notre Dame with.
That's crazy.
And he ended up at center because that's where there was an opening. And that's where he could get the playing time the earliest. Like, I mean, I think this guy clearly loves football and wants to be on the field all the time. And I think that's a great trait to have, but also he's carried over those attributes that you get from playing offensive tackle to the center position, which is something that I think is invaluable.
Yeah, it is. Who's next?
Let's see here. Let's go ahead and keep with center just because it's the position of the moment. Alex Forsyth.
Hot position.
Yeah. Alex Forsyth out of Oregon, who is another guy who hasn't gotten much hype that I'll be honest, I couldn't get much of his tape until like yesterday or 2 days ago. I was thinking this guy is probably not very good. Like, there's a reason I'm not finding his tape anywhere. And I put on his tape with very low expectations, just kind of blown away. Yeah, 78. So this is a game where Oregon got destroyed by Georgia, right? He had a really good game. I mean, he just shows some nastiness out there that you don't see against Georgia often. And he shows some athleticism at the second level that's really impressive.
Look at this, Q. Like, he gives a one-handed stab.
Yeah.
And controls the blitzer immediately.
And then makes him remember it too.
Yeah. Like, that's really good.
I know. I'm like I said, I was shocked when I started watching his tape of like, what am I missing with this guy? What's the fatal flaw here as to why I haven't heard anything about him?
There's Jalen Carter swimming him.
Yeah. Yeah. I included some bad ones in here too, to make sure each prospect didn't get built up too high from talking about them. But let's see here. So here he comes off the combo and just stonewalls the guy. It's a linebacker, but he's a center. He's going to be blocking linebackers off combos. You need to hit that block, and a lot of guys don't. Let's see what happens on this one here.
Pass blocking. He's got long arms.
Yeah, it was the recovery was why I had this. Like he was able to close that ground with the length and then just push the guy all the way out, right? He didn't just take care of it. He took the guy out of the play.
Right. We've gone through the snaps, but I want to give you some B-roll if you want to keep talking about him. Like at every point.
So he's been voted by the coaches 2 times to the Pac-12 team, the All Pac-12 second team. That is 4-star recruit out of high school, and I have him also around Patterson, like a third round value, and he's on average around 291st according to Mock Draft Database right now on all the mock drafts. So he's just off the radar. He's just not being talked about out there. And he's a guy who I think is going to rise. Like he's going to the Senior Bowl this week, as all these guys are. And I can't imagine that he's going to stay as unheralded as he is currently.
Makes sense. I mean, this stuff happens all the time, right? Top 100 pick JT Woods and top 100 pick Tyquan Thornton. No, it's not a coincidence that both those guys went to Baylor, and therefore I remember it. Neither of them were in their top 300 in mock draft database. Which is not to say mock draft database is unreliable, but it's definitely hit and miss in terms of overall prospect ratings.
But so one of the interesting things with that, because I think mock draft database just pulls aggregated data from mock drafts. Jarrett Patterson was actually on mock draft database 86th because of how much he was being mocked last year as a first or second round pick.
That's hilarious.
I just that's where with him I was just like, this is just people forgetting he exists. It has to be
right. Somebody says in the comments, by the way, so that's how No Line is supposed to pick up an A-gap blitz. I never would have known that. Like
it's a sight to be seen.
And I mean, you definitely see with some of this. Like, I mean, J2K mentions that's Thule that he muscles out on one of these snaps. Like. These aren't no-namers he's going up against when you're talking about USC and
I always try to pull film of like credible opponents, right? Like I want to watch how these guys will hold up against NFL talent.
Oh man,
so that's what I try to focus on.
Q, speaking of, like, there's nothing. Okay, I'm probably gonna get caught guilty of doing this on Twitter. I'm just gonna warn everybody, but like, it is hilarious. I saw a draft Twitter tweet the other day that was like, XY player, his game against Vanderbilt really, really stood out to me. And I was like, I bet it did. Like, I bet it was live. Like,
put those future doctors in the dirt.
His game against Youngstown State, like, loved it. And it's like, yeah. I mean, it's the same problem that a guy like Andre Yoshivas, you know him, right? How have you not heard of the 6'4", 4'2", like, Princeton receiver? I mean, it's just it's funny how that works, right? Where it's like, oh, you're telling me that they're playing against guys that won't be in the NFL and they look really good doing it? Wow, incredible.
Yeah. So if we want to go to Andrew Vorhees out of USC next, just to mock my last point, because I couldn't find any 22 film from him except for against Oregon State and Stanford, which are not,
neither of those teams
exactly
are bad.
The NFL powerhouses.
You say that, but the Oregon State Beavers have some guys that can play. Like,
yeah, their defense was actually pretty good last year, I believe.
It was.
Yeah. Actually, they do have one guy who's looking to get drafted, who's going to be at the Senior Bowl. One of the defensive ends here.
It's the defensive end. And they got a defensive back in John something. I'm going to print all this out. But I don't know if you've got notes.
Vorhees here, he's number 72. He is, I believe, the left guard.
Okay.
Here, 6'6",
right here.
325. Yeah, I believe he's left guard. 72. And, man, I'll be honest. Like, I was not impressed with his Oregon State tape to start. And, I mean, it was just okay. It felt like kind of like watching Cody Whitehair, if you know what I mean, of like a few years ago, where it was like, guy doesn't do anything wrong, but I don't know what he does well either. Like here he picks up that move block well, but he brings no power into it, right? He had no punch, no finish, but he consistently hits them though. And then I flipped on the Stanford tape And I was like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? Because this guy's angry. The guy against Oregon State wasn't angry. This guy was out to prove a point. And I don't know if that was coaching or what, but if he's playing the way he did against Stanford with the same technical soundness that he had against Oregon State, he can be a really good player. Because, like I said, there's very few flaws to his game. I mean, he's a good enough athletic mover. He's good enough at everything that you want to see, but doesn't really excel at much of anything. But that's one of the reasons I put him on here, because this guys were watching for the Senior Bowl. I want to see which guy he is, because one guy looked like a first-round pick. The other looked like a guy who you could pick up in the 4th round.
I mean, that's the magic of it, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Q, you and I are scrounging for whatever tape we can get of some of these guys. Like, getting the chance to not just watch them practice, but to watch them practice against other guys right? Because that's the magic of this. Now you know what defensive linemen they're going up against. So, when you talk about Vorhees, like, lining up against a defensive lineman that you think will punish lack of technique, you can test him, It may not be a perfect rep, but you can test him in a
Could he survive it? If you're saying this guy, like, the guy he's going up against is going to be a 2nd-round pick, like, that's a pretty talented player. And if he can survive it, that's what we're talking about in the NFL, right? We're not talking about a guy who can dominate every rep. It's some of these questions are just, can they survive it?
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, one of the funniest things that happened last year, I will warn you, Q, there was no player more dominant than Neil Farrell Jr. last year in the day one of the Senior Bowl, which it's not to dunk on Neil Farrell. I think he got drafted in like the 5th or 6th round. Like, really solid run stuffer out of LSU. Absolutely opened up a can of you-know-what, like, on everybody there. Nobody could block him. So, there's definitely, like, make sure you take all 3 days into account, assuming we get him in rain. Because you got to show up for all 3 days, right?
Yeah.
But it's funny, the guys that will shine there. Because there's crazy stuff. You got me interested. Who do you got next?
Next up, let's see. Let's go ahead to Matt Bergeron.
Matt Bergeron. Okay, here he is.
Offensive tackle out of Syracuse, 6'5", 320 pounds, 3-year starter. He is number 60 out here. So this one was a cut up that I put out on Twitter as well. The thing that stands out to me so much is his footwork. His feet just stay so low to the ground and are so efficient. It's not the fastest feet you've ever seen, but everything is right. There are not wasted steps, not wasted movement, and he repeats it over and over. And if this is a guy, like, I think he can stay at tackle, and he has experience on the left side and the right side, but if he struggles with tackle, I think this guy would excel at guard with movement skills like that.
That makes sense.
And again, it's not the speed of the feet, it's the efficiency and repeatability that really stand out to me with him. And I mean, also another thing that I love to look at with these guys is, did they make an all-academic team? Were they honor roll? I think that and I can't speak to this from experience, but I think that shows something in a guy, how much a guy is gonna study off the field, his opponents, how much he's gonna put the work in mentally to excel at what they want to excel at. And he majors in social work. So, I mean, it's not a major that's just, I don't know, something that is easier.
That's not popcorn
for some of these players. Yeah. It's not just, I got a degree and I'm good. And I have a mid-second round grade on him, which is about consensus with what else you see out there. He can be a little upright. I want to see what his length looks like, because I'm not sure where it sits at. I had a hard time really kind of figuring that one out, but he's a guy who I think could be a really quality player. There's just a lot of technical soundness to his game that I really like.
The only scary thing you think about when you think about a player like Matthew Bergeron, right? And you wonder, okay, what's the worst case scenario, Is a guy who isn't an upgrade over Braxton Jones, right? Like, not for the Bears. It's more to talk about player quality, right? Where Cody Whitehair is a good example of somebody who started really hot, and as he faded, like as he got hurt, he became that little bit more inconsistent. And now, hey, admittedly, years later and a second contract later, the Bears have to move on. It is funny, right? How you either get these boom or bust prospects where it's like they're going to be amazing or they're going to suck. or you get these guys where you're like, so we know they'll be good. How good?
Yeah, it's the high floor, but the ceiling might not be as high type of guy.
Adam, I love the joke. So I don't know if you saw it, Q. I don't know if you've got the stream chat pulled up, but somebody mentioned with a last name like that, he can play can he play hockey? And I thought the same thing, Adam. Like Matthew Bergeron, I was like, Bergeron? Like, what kind of player are we talking about? But
he's a Canadian.
Is he really?
Born Canadian. Oh yeah, he was one of the best high school Canadian football players of all time.
That'll do it, won't it? Well, you mentioned length, and so let me pick it for you because I see you've got a cut up of him in here. Like, there's nobody that personifies length. If anybody was wondering, better than DeJuan Jones, who we actually watched a little bit of film of today, but talk about him.
Man, I mean, talk about like knuckles dragging on the ground length. This guy has some of the longest arms imaginable, and he has this upper body strength to use them.
Oh my gosh.
You know, like length, like this one. Watch how easy he does this. Like just throws these guys around. It's like he's barely trying sometimes.
Looks like an anime villain. Like
I think that's Lucas Van Ness. He just threw with one hand on the ground.
It's not Van Ness. That's 92.
Oh, is it not?
Because Van Ness is 91, right?
You could be right. I haven't watched him yet because he's not at the Senior Bowl.
But it's still
so focused on these guys.
No, I get you. It's still a really good Iowa Hawkeye. I mean,
yeah.
I can speak to him because I've seen him a good bit. Like, you want to talk about Q, somebody who shows you, like a show not tell player for the NFL as a first contact league. Like DeJuan Jones is a great example of the extreme of that, because what happens when these guys will lose first touch? Well, they're going to start trying to dip under his arms, right? All the time. And the moment they do, he'll just grab them and rip them to the ground.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Like, you don't see guys with length like this that also have strength like this very often. You know, that's the thing that just keeps coming to mind to me.
This is
guys
vicious.
There's so many guys. Yeah.
You need to hang your cleats up after just getting your shoulders grabbed and just dunking.
like that's what I mean. Like there are guys with length who can get you at that spot, right? But not many of them can throw you to the ground. Like it's just insane what he's able to do. And granted, it has its, offsets. I'm not sure he can move in a zone scheme. I'm not sure he's a fit there, but I'm interested. I'm interested in finding out because I don't know. I don't know where he comps, like what he's unlike many guys I've ever seen before. And that's interesting to me alone.
The only thing I wish you had on here, because I think it's hilarious, is that there are some of these reps that he'll have. So look, everybody here, you can envision what a rusher is going to try to do, right? Most of the time, they're going to try to widen the edge in some way, shape, or form and see if they can just beat his feet, right? Well, when people get too wide onto him, he will reach out with his right hand and slap them in the face. Like, you know what I'm talking about, Q?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
He will just hit them in the head and try to knock them off balance. Because
it feels like he's wrestling, not playing football. He's just going to cross face you.
It's ridiculous. I mean, there's nobody else. This isn't a league thing, right, Q? Like, I have never seen anybody with a toolkit so outrageous in terms of what it is and what it isn't, that you sit here and you look at him and you're like, I have no idea what Khalil Mack would do. Like, I don't know. I don't think Khalil Mack's longer than him. Like, you'd probably have to bull rush him, but he's 390 pounds. Or 360, sorry.
The other thing I'm interested in, this guy had D1 offers to play basketball.
What?
Like if he drops
way.
weight, how much better does his movement skills get? Because I mean, he could have played D1 basketball. He's got to be pretty athletic, right?
What? Like,
Yeah.
I get it. He's huge. He's 6'8",
He averaged
right?
18 points a game and like 12 rebounds a game in
Bull
high school.
crap. I
Yeah.
mean, what?
It's ridiculous.
He had offers to play. How? Okay, hang on. Do you have his recruiting profile? Like, did you find his basketball recruiting profile?
I think it was on his Ohio State page.
Okay, because I wonder what his weight was when he was playing ball.
No.
Like,
I don't know. That's a good question, though.
there's no way he was playing basketball at 300 pounds, right? Like, no way. Man, talk about a completely different take on the Jimmy Graham, like, basketball thing, you know? Like, that's holy smokes.
It was 17 points a game and 9 rebounds a game on his Ohio State profile. That's what it says he averaged in high school.
My word, that's crazy. Who else you want to look at?
Let's just stick with the offensive tackles. Let's go on into Wanya Morris.
Let's see. Wanya Morris.
So, and if that name sounds familiar, he was named after the Boyz II Men singer, Wanya Morris.
That'll do.
At least according to his college profile. 6'6", 310 pounds. This guy was a 5-star, went to Tennessee. He's number 64 here at Oklahoma, right tackle. Movement skills show out. I mean, so he went to Tennessee, played left tackle there for his first 2 years, freshman and sophomore year. Really wasn't doing too great. I'm sorry, he was a 4-star recruit, but a consensus top 50 player in the country. Then he transferred to OU, sat on the bench, got some spot starts, played some reps on OU's O-line last year, and then was the full-time starter at right tackle this year. Once his Tennessee tape comes in here, you'll notice he looks a lot bigger playing left tackle. I think he lost quite a bit of weight when he transferred to Oklahoma and took that year on the bench because his movement skills seem to have gotten smoother, better. His, like you see right here,
he's way bigger.
He lost some serious weight in that time, and I think it helped him a lot because he flashed at Tennessee. You could see it, but it wasn't constant. You'd see that a lot.
I was about to say
where his feet just fall behind and he's just left holding nothing.
You get the
but a face
Leatherwood
mask
thing
right there. Yeah. But on his Oklahoma tape, the flashes just got more and more constant. And I was sitting here watching him going, the first tape I put on for him, it was like, this guy's good, you know? And I didn't understand why I hadn't heard his name more. And you'd heard Anton Harrison's name a lot at left tackle for OU, but not Wanya Morris. And then when I found out he burned out at Tennessee and kind of had to go recreate himself, it made a lot more sense. But what he did at Oklahoma was impressive this year. And one thing I will say that I did notice, though, Oklahoma did not have a good season. And in games where they fell behind by a lot, you could kind of see him letting off the gas some, which was where a lot of his bad reps came from. And that made me think, like, if he's going, in close games, is he keeping it up, and is he dominating? Because he was dominating early in these games a lot, and then kind of just it seemed like the morale for the whole team really at Oklahoma, like, those guys weren't very used to being in those situations. But it's one thing that you got to wonder once he gets to the pros, and I want to see how he does at a Senior Bowl where he's trying to show out, and does he just take over the weekend of like showing these dominant reps?
One thing, Q, so I asked Brandon Robinson a lot of questions because he's an actual coach, just about what it's like being in a locker room, right? One of the things that he mentioned when he was coaching D2 safeties this last year is he was like, you'd be amazed at how easily you can tell which of these guys came from losing programs in high school. Because as soon as things get hard, they're the first to quit. And that's not to say that Wanya Morris is a quitter. Like, let's not make this about Robert making a grand generalization. It's more like, I get it. You know, if anything, you could even argue, Q, that that's the biggest problem, right? To worry about within the Bears org right now is that it's been a good couple years of taking L's.
Yeah.
Like, and that doesn't, like, we don't need to turn this into an explicitly Bears podcast all of a sudden where we expostulate on all that kind of stuff. But it does, you mention Wanya Morris potentially letting off the gas in some of these later games. And I think to myself, you know, Tennessee was bad.
Yeah.
For
as you said that was my first thought. He went through the ringer those first 2 years at Tennessee of like just getting
and they were terrible,
snot beaten out of him.
Like terrible. I mean, embarrassed bad. And so maybe there's some reclamation that needs to happen there about how like, hey, you're getting paid professional football money. Like you don't do that. Or the games are just closer in the NFL and it solves the problem for him. Right.
I mean, so that last play right there, I think that summed up his tape perfectly.
This one?
Like, yeah. Watch his hands. Watch how he takes this guy down easily and throws him into his quarterback.
Right.
Like, I think that sums up his tape so well because it's like there's so much to like, and there's just that one thing where you're like, ugh.
He's crazy athletic, and lean. I mean, I know that we're talking about a power pose here, but like this is a lean offensive lineman, very much in the. I'm surprised you didn't give me a cut up of Cody Mock, by the way. So if you want to,
so I didn't want to use much broadcast view. And that's all I have on Cody Mock is broadcast.
I have a game if you need me to pull it, like where I could show some. It's 2021, so it's not 22. Okay. But
yeah, we can watch it at a point here because I haven't seen any all 22 from him, so I definitely like to.
He's in that same mold for any Bears fans that haven't heard the name of crazily athletic offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Like it's not really about technique, it's not about power, it's about his lower body. If you didn't know how football worked, you might think he was a receiver. Like he moves about as well as a tight end does. It's stupid what he'll do, but that's a different discussion. Who's next?
Darnell Wright.
I was like, he's gonna pick Darnell Wright eventually.
I'm just going to the first guy I can find in my notes.
Well, I mean, Darnell Wright is a beast. Talk us through him.
Yeah. 6'6", 335, and also long. Like him and DeJuan Jones might be the two longest tackles in this class as far as arm length goes. Spot started as a right tackle his freshman, sophomore year. They were kind of up and down. And then his junior year, he was the starter at left tackle and struggled. This past year, his senior year, they moved him back to right tackle. Or I'm sorry, I've been saying guard. I meant tackle. He's only played tackle. He didn't play much guard. But they moved him back to right guard, and he had a hell of a season this year. It seems like something really clicked for him. And, like, this guy is just violent. He is just violent. And it's incredible. Like, not to a point of, like, you're worried about him getting penalties, but violent within the rules, which is exactly what you want in offensive line, right? Like you want a guy who is imposing his will and making them feel it, but not crossing that line. Which I mean, he's a bit limited on movement ability, but kind of like with DeJuan Jones. Yeah, very. But kind of with DeJuan Jones, I'm still interested. I just think his length and his power offer so much to a football team that I think you can find ways to work with it, no matter what your scheme is. I have him as a mid to late first rounder. I mean, that's the type of talent I think he is, just because of how much of an absolute rock he is out there. You can't move him.
To me, what's even crazier, Q, like he's a rock. He's an anchor. We've seen a lot of guys like this. How well is the feed coming through on the Google Meet?
It's good. I'm
so you can see the fresh film because I pulled some of the tape that I know I watched of him versus Pitt. As a hand fighter, he is stunningly good.
I know.
Like, I mean, for a guy his size, his ability, like, look at this. I mean, baits a hand out, draws the swat away, misses the swat away, and latches in for a free and easy rep where he just jerks the guy around.
The amount of times you see him catch both hands from a pass rusher. Like, just think about that. Like, your eyes can't be focused on both hands. He's catching both from a guy who's coming at him. And it's just that is not normal. That is not something you see very many people able to do. He's very, I guess that's hand-eye coordination. I don't know what he does to practice it, but it's impressive.
It's hand-eye coordination. I can't help but think that his brain comes across on a football tape like it works really quickly, because he reacts to what edge rushers do extraordinarily fast. I mean, in terms of just his counter moves come out very quickly. Like, he's a high, or like, if you were going to scale somebody off of how well they recover, he's way better at recovering than you'd think he is. The problem is, and I'm frankly glad we pulled one, I mean, this is it, isn't it, Q?
Yeah.
Like, they're going to try to run like basically just a like a tackle counter. It looks like it's HT counter, where they're just going to pull this tight end across and kind of treat him like an H-back, and he can't get through. Like, he can't get through the hole. He doesn't have the speed to beat the running back through the hole, and frankly blows his own play up because he's so slow through it. He's not I want him to be a Bears fit so bad. You know what I mean?
I know.
Like, he's such a wonderful pure pass protector, but he's so slow that I cannot help thinking, like, maybe the Ravens, maybe any team.
I know.
That's
what I keep saying about these guys. Him and DeJuan Jones both. I'm like, maybe the Ravens, because they're so good and they're so fun to watch. But like, it's hard to find guys who are that physical and that dominating to fit what the Bears want to do. You know, but
and
that's
who knows?
what you want.
Maybe, just maybe, they want to have one tackle that's like really strong pass protector, basically setting an anchor, and one that's really mobile. Like, maybe, but I doubt it. That said, Q, I mean, what is this rep? Right? Like, throws him down, beats him up, like,
it points at him and
that's
says
a pass play. Like, are you kidding me?
Well, that's
and is that
where,
Hyatt too? Oh man, you want to talk about just like, oh yeah, it is. Now I need to watch the whole
I hit
thing.
this point of like of thinking like, I know run game is important. It's always going to be important. It's always going to matter. But like, we're in a passing league with a quarterback who we need to pass more. And I'm almost at the point like, you figure out the run scheme, just get this guy protection, get the protection you need out there, and he can do that. You know, then that's where I just like keep like getting pulled back into to this style of player, because I'm just like, they're going to bully a pass protection, and I believe in Justin Fields. We'll figure it out.
We can move on from Darnell Wright as soon as you're ready.
Yeah.
The Tennessee offense is infectious. I mean,
so here's the train of thought I got back. So one of the things that I really look for in offensive linemen is like, it's not as measurable, or not like, you know, you're not going to find it in the combine or like in any numbers or stats, but it's only in film, is calm, collected confidence. Mm-hmm. You know, I want guys who walk with a big stick and are just acting like they've been there before after the whistle. You know, that calm demeanor of like controlled violence, you know, and that's something that him and DeJuan Jones both meet at extremely high levels.
Right.
Or, I'm sorry. DeJuan Jones. Never mind. But we can go on to, I believe I have one more offensive lineman in here. Osiris
Torrence.
Yeah. King Bo. It's his Twitter handle, so I assume it's his nickname. Number 58, or I'm sorry, he was number 54 with Florida, number 58 at Louisiana Lafayette. He played his first 3 years at Louisiana Lafayette. Pound the rock type of program. You know, he can run block with that. He's a good athlete. He can get out there on the move. 6'5", 350 pounds he's listed at. So he's a big athlete.
Yeah, he's huge.
Yeah. He transferred into Florida for his senior year prior to, for NIL deals and to build up his draft rep. He was largely under recruited out of high school. He was a 2-star, and his only Power 5 offer was from Georgia, which was shocking to me.
Only.
That, Georgia was offering him, but others weren't. Well, you'd think there's someone just piggybacking everyone Georgia offers. But
I know this is probably a hold, but honestly, I love a lineman that's willing to hold.
Yeah. And there's a lot of gray area you have to filter through that from college ball. They let so many holds go in college. Like, there are so many times where I'm watching a guy and I have to replay it 5 times to decide whether that's a hold in the NFL or not.
Yep.
But you see that footwork, those hands right there on that rep. This was when he was at Louisiana Lafayette, and he's just smooth. All right there against Texas, a quality program, and he just smoothly handles it and moves on. Now, I do not have as high of a grade as the consensus does on him. I think Torrence looks like an outstanding guard, but he's being mocked up in the mid to late first rounds right now, and I'm just not quite sure that I have him that high. I think I have him around the mid-second, but again, we are early in this process. I've watched 2 games of him, and that's where I'm sitting.
I'm in that stage, Q, where right now I have assigned some tentative grades, but I am really trying to avoid consensus grades as much as I can, because I just don't even want to know with some of these guys,
These were the only guys that I looked up. I've looked at some big boards, but that's about it. And I'm not trying to take it into account. I'm using it more to make sure I've seen guys that I need to see.
Oh, exactly. And I mean, there's plenty of that, because we can finally we have some kind of embargo, but I feel like after the Senior Bowl, we can certainly start generating more reports, which is really great, because we can feel like we've finalized some of these evals, or at least finalized for now. We'll have to wait until they test, sure, but tell me about some of these defensive linemen. I know it's not all offensive line, and I know that the Bears need defensive line help.
Yeah, let's see. The first guy I got up here, let's go to Zach Harrison.
At
Ohio
Harrison,
State.
The Ohio State Buckeye, who will not be at the Senior Bowl, I think.
Is he not?
I think he just pulled out for injury reasons or something.
Okay.
But I still want to know about him.
I was looking forward to watching him. I said I was looking forward to watching him.
Yeah, same.
Long athlete. This guy was one of the top. He was the number 1 defensive end coming out of high school in his recruiting class. Yeah, number 9.
What?
6'6", 270 pounds. This rep is just I was trying to get it down to 5 each when I was pulling these guys, and I was like, I can't get rid of this rep. I can't get rid of this rep. I can't get rid
he's so much faster than he was in 2021.
Yeah, I mean this. So who's this against?
Is this?
Can you tell?
Oh, I don't know. Looks like
Wisconsin.
It's Wisco.
Yeah, so this is 2022 tape. There were points in some of his tape where you're like, he's not showing everything that he has, and some of it is I think he had a lot of contained responsibilities on this defense. I think he had a lot of I need to come off the line of scrimmage and protect, not I need to explode into the backfield, which has kind of his bend is not all the way there. He needs to dip the shoulder.
This is the game I've
get
watched.
That bend. Yeah. But so the bend isn't natural. It's more created by that shoulder dip. But his explosiveness off the ball makes me not it gets me over his lack of bend in some instances. And the way that he plays the run. He is tough against the run. He can hold his ground. 270 pounds. He's not a lightweight pass rusher out there. He's a guy.
He refined himself a lot in this 2022 season.
Well, in his highlights, definitely.
Well, I mean, yes. But I'm even saying, so I only watched that, the only Zach Harrison that I've seen is that Minnesota game you were just showing.
Yeah.
Right? And he's just not near this fluid through most of it.
Yeah, the Michigan and Minnesota tape are 2021. I forget on the Maryland tape. I think that's probably 2021, but I couldn't tell you for sure. Notre Dame and Wisconsin are both 2022.
Man, these are such long, like J2K says, these are long arms, long
And
athlete.
his stride, he covers ground in no time. Like it just his strides are massive.
Do
Like
you see a 3 tech or a 4-3 defensive end, or like
right
what are you
now,
seeing?
I see a guy playing 5, 6, 7 tech, so 4-3 defensive end,
Mm-hmm.
but similar to Tyree Wilson, he adds 20 pounds. He could be a passing down 3 tech easily.
Easily could. I cannot help thinking, Q, that the Bears need some actual defensive ends.
Yeah.
Like, because I agree
Well,
with
and
you.
that's my thought process with him. He's a guy who can be a 4 down defensive end for your 3 down defensive end for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he can play the run, he can play the pass. He doesn't need to be in a wide 9 to get after the passer. So that's where my head is at with him.
I can't help thinking the same thing. Like, part of me now that you've shown this, look, the Bears aren't going to go defense. I hope. Cody, you mentioned earlier that, like, am I prepared for JSN to fall to the Bears pick via Indianapolis and the Bears passing him? I'm always prepared. After the Pickens thing last year, Q, I'm just ready. Okay, like I'm calloused. I'm scarred up. I'm ready for anything like that the Bears throw at me, and I'll just try not to cry. But I will say that, like, I think that with Harrison specifically, Q, if the Bears trade, and I mean, for some reason, I don't know why they would, but like they get to 35, they don't like their options, they trade back because it's a very popular trade back pick, right? I could easily see Zach Harrison anywhere from 40 to 60, maybe even a little higher, honestly, depending on how he tests. Just because
I've got him just based on the tape and assuming his testing is going to be good early to mid second, but like that can change with testing, you know?
And the Bears need that badly.
Yeah.
Like, they don't. You could make a real argument, and I will, that the Bears don't have. Yeah.
This play is the perfect example of what they need. Look at the scoreboard, look at the time on the clock, and
36-30, close out, 3-man rush, drives, sacks, game over.
I believe this next one, too, is the same situation. And he just takes the football.
Closer.
2 plays in a row. Like, I mean, he flipped the switch and said, I'm ending this game.
To your point.
That says a lot to me.
Well, I mean, it's so funny you mentioned that, right? Because to go back to this Minnesota one, like, offensive line, Q, is about making as few mistakes as possible within a very complex game, right?
Yeah.
Defensive line, Zach Harrison to this point had completely unimpressed me. Not that this game is like some absolute wower, but he looked slow, lethargic, generally unathletic, and almost like he was needed to play himself into conditioning. I was like, given what he does later, you know what I mean? I thought he was just slow.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I just watched DJ Dale. Like, maybe Zach Harrison's just a guy, you know?
Yeah.
I get it. All you have to do, Q, is this one time. You can screw up a lot of snaps.
You do that once a game, you're defensive player of the year.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can screw up all kinds of plays, but when you wheel around and you force a huge fumble that pretty much took Minnesota out of the game, if memory serves.
Yeah.
Like I even think there's a chance. Let me see.
That's another point. That's another spot where he's closing, though.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I noticed with him. He was doing his best reps came under the brightest lights of the game.
Right. And if they weren't the brightest lights, like you didn't think they were yet because they're in the mid-third quarter, you didn't know that the game just sort of ended there. You know? Yeah. He's fun. Who else are we looking at when it comes to edge? Let's stick to
Derek Hall out of Auburn. He wears number 29. And so this guy has one of the best life stories in the draft. He was born 4 months premature and not breathing. So he was technically dead when he was born. Low chance of having any real life. A lot of his childhood had to have his inhaler right by him at all times. Somehow became a incredible athlete between then and high school, had D1 basketball offers. He wasn't supposed to be able to walk or talk in after his first 5 weeks of living. The doctor said he is likely never going to walk or talk.
Oh my God.
And here he is. He's just explosive as all get out when he's hitting everything right. He doesn't tackle the best. Some of the finer points of his game need refinement, but this natural skill, the natural athleticism that you see here,
he gets by him.
Yeah.
And how does he go, Q? How does he go from this step 1, 2, 3? How did he do that? You know what I mean? It looks like it almost looks like the film is broken. Where you're like, did you hit fast forward? Like, holy smokes,
this guy's gonna test insane at the combine. I mean, he was a team captain this year, 3-year starter. He's won community service awards on the national level for his work in the community. I assume there's something related to like premature babies or something like that. That's just a pure assumption on my part. But when this guy, they played him at Fortech in 2021 a lot.
What?
He's 250 pounds, 6'3", and they were playing him at Fortech. Fortech and 5Tech. When he is at wide 9, he is an animal.
Yeah,
he is just an absolute when he is at wide 9 and exploding off the ball, he is damn near impossible to stop from getting into the pocket. Making the tackles another question, and getting off the snap at the right time is a bit of a question. But when he ties it all up, he is ludicrous.
Is this Mississippi State?
Yes.
It's just not a bad school. I mean, he's a 250
The only tape on here is Mississippi State and Alabama. So, I mean, you're talking quality.
He puts this guy, I mean, come on, Q.
Yeah. And loses his footing. And it's like he's so close to being incredible.
It sounds like.
And he's still incredible.
It sounds like Georgia's Christopher Smith, the safety. Not that you need to know that, but same thing where it's like, oh, so close to really, really great.
Yeah.
Still very good, but so close.
And he had some decent production, I believe. Like he had a good amount of sacks, I think his junior year, but I mean, it could have been a ludicrous amount.
So the almosts are crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
To use a phrase, Robert Quinn got his, there are some of these players out there, right, Q, where it's like they have really great production and they cashed in on almost all of their chances to get it.
Yeah.
You're saying he had good production. It could have been crazy given what he missed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you hear that a lot with Will Anderson, and I feel like I'm seeing it with Derek Hall, where he is in this guy's face, and he's not beating double teams the way Will Anderson does. But he is right in the pocket or right in the backfield on run play and just misses by an inch,
Right. Who's next?
Let's see. Oh. We want to talk about a guy playing out of position, Will McDonald.
Okay.
So Will McDonald has played, let's see, did I write it down? Pretty much at 3-tech, 4-tech, 5-tech, and 6-tech for Iowa State, and he's 236 pounds.
What?
Out of position, his stats, you almost have to throw out the window at some point because he was playing interior D line so much, but he still produced at those spots too, which is just insane to think about.
What number is he?
Oh, I'm sorry. He is number 9. See, I believe he's on the left end and makes the tackle on this play. He just washes down, and just he works off 2 different guys on that play at 236 pounds, two different offensive linemen.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So and he gets over leverage where he's 2 out over his front at times, but he's playing 4-tech at 236 pounds. I can't even blame him on that.
Right.
When he gets to the 6, 7, 9 tech, you start to really see what he can do. Like that move right there, he didn't actually even get free, but I had to include it on there because he tied the two moves together, right? He tied the inside move with the spin, which is just you don't see guys doing that at this level very often.
Right.
And then he even ends it with a bit of a bull rush there, which his bull rush for his weight is impressive. It really probably won't hold up in the NFL, but it's impressive.
Wow.
He was the scout team player of the year at Iowa State his freshman year, which you love to see. Just because, I mean, he was probably playing nose tackle for their scout team for all we can tell.
Yeah, apparently.
Multiple academic honors in the All Big 12 all academic team. Excellent high school basketball player. Came third in the state competition for high jump in high school. Was the state champion in throwing the discus.
Oh my gosh. Just a beast.
And bendy.
Yeah.
On some of these reps on the 9 tag, like at first watching him from the 4 tag, I couldn't tell if he had no bend or if it was just him not being in position to show it. As I started to see some positions of him playing out the 9, it was like, okay, this guy might just go in the first round on this alone. Like on just the fact that he can come in on passing downs and do this.
Long arms too.
Yeah.
That is a huge play.
Yeah. So he's a guy who I think he's being projected second round, late second right now, and I think he's going to be early second easily.
The kind of guy that goes up once he tests.
Yeah. I mean, and once people start to really dig into his film and be like, why the hell is he lined up in between the guard and the tackle at 236 pounds?
When you talk weight, do you think he can add more?
So that I am not sure. His build looks pretty slight, and I'm not sure if he's a great fit for the Bears where he's going to be drafted. You know, if they could get him where the 2006 Bears got Mark Anderson, you know, that would be outstanding. So he could be a guy who just plays third downs. Mm-hmm. But he's probably going a lot earlier than that to a 3-4 team who's just going to stand him up and say, get after the passer.
He seems like a small 3-4 line or outside linebacker, but that he could be a dynamo in the role because he's got all kinds of experience like you're talking about.
Yeah. And I mean, it's clearly it's kind of like to bring up Will Anderson for a second again. We talk a lot about, you know, how is he standing up to these offensive linemen so well? And it's his hands and his footwork and the base, that his wide base, and just knowing what he's doing. And that's where I see with Will McDonald too. Now, I'm not sure he's going to stand up to the NFL blockers in the same way, but I have reason to believe he might be capable to some degree of it.
I think so. I think that makes all the sense in the world. Who's next?
Let's see. I think that covers all the edge guys, right?
I think so.
Okay, let's get into Zach. What's his last name? Zacch.
Oh, Zach Pickens.
Yeah, Zach Pickens. So he has been an interesting one. I just watched another game today on him. I'd only watched the game against Georgia before this. I watched his game against Kentucky, and I didn't want to include it in this because Kentucky's O-line was not good.
No, they were bad.
But he is number 9, I think, or number 6. Number 6 out there.
Okay.
He is 6'4", 305 pounds, has gotten academic honors.
That's 305 pounds? Oh, that's 8.
Yeah, no, that's 8. It's 6. So he was the number 1 defensive tackle in the country out of high school. I remember when he committed to South Carolina, it was a huge deal for the Gamecocks, because it was like, we got the number 1 D tackle in the country and we're the Gamecocks. You know, it was cool. He's got some serious torque and flexibility in his game. Like, he holds ground at weird angles all the time. Now, his power isn't the most consistent. Like, there'll be plays where you'll see him holding up a double team bent over at a 45-degree angle sideways, and you're like, holy crap, this guy's strong. Like, core strength, ridiculous. And there'll be plays where you'll see him washed down by a double team. You're like, where was that strength? Like washed 5-6 yards downfield. So that's my main question with him is how does his functional strength fully translate? Is it weird positions that he's really great with, or is it just generally this guy's stronger than everybody else? very instinctual playmaker too. Like he's another guy when they needed plays, he found ways to make plays, which I love. And I think he's a guy who could have a versatility in the Bears scheme
Mm-hmm.
of playing a little nose and also playing some three tech. Like he did a lot of nose at South Carolina and a little bit of three tech too. And when he decided to shoot gaps, he was impressive.
Where do you think he goes? Not team round.
I'm thinking. So I had late second, early third on this, and he was projected around a little after 100. So
He's
probably a little
projected
before.
after 100.
Yeah, I was thinking late second is really. Or wait, did I say second or third? I misread my notes. I said late second.
No,
Is
and
my
that's
notes.
I ask if only because Q, like we're watching tape of a kid playing Georgia. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it. Okay, here's the honest truth. Sometimes Q about like I hate. I'm a Big 12 alumnus. I hate giving the SEC more than they need. But for as much as we constantly talk about the talent level at the NFL versus the talent level at on college football, the Bears really did field an offensive line of a guy with back problem. Well, okay, Tevin Jenkins is really good, but like a random center from Notre Dame, like a Kansas State offensive tackle, and a guy who'd just gotten drafted out of I can't even remember where Braxton Jones came from,
oh,
right?
was it? Yeah,
And then whatever right tackle they could find, like the former right tackle at Missouri. It's not to say that I know for sure that this center and this guard are going to be playing on Sundays. It's that they're closer than they should be, if that makes sense.
the right tackle and the center are both being drafted in this draft somewhere. So
There you go. Because I'm with you, or because I hear you, J2K, that you're right. Like it's not as if he won't be a second or third rounder.
That
and
play right there.
yeah,
That the way he contorts back and absorbs the power and then just keeps control is a lot of players are too stiff for that.
Right.
If their bodies go like that, they're tipping back, you know?
Mm-hmm. And I can't help thinking that, like, and this is 100% something I've just sort of started bending myself into, right? Where if you can get a player like Akeem Hicks was in 2018, where he's just a dominator, like, from start to finish, from, like, whistle to whistle, every single play of every single week for his entire career, obviously, Q, we'd love that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, if there's a place to be inconsistent, the defensive line is a great spot for it. Because in a worst case scenario, you probably give up a first down. But in a best case scenario, you steal a down that the offense should have had. And instead, they get like 1 yard on a running play that they thought they had a bust on, right? And those plays are how you take the ball away. You know, it's not as simple as sacks. Like, how do you get to a sack? Well, you have to put the team in an unfavorable passing scenario most of the time. How do you do that? Well, you've got to steal rundowns, you know? And it's interesting watching a guy like this where you can even see J2K, like you mentioned that Pickens is known for not having played up to his potential. You can see the potential in his frame. That's not to say it's the Gamecocks' fault, right? But that is a really sweet NFL run rep. I see this every Sunday, Q. Like, guy leans in to check where the run's going, then, like, jets out into the hole and stops it for a gain of 2 or 3. Like, the Bears need a little more of that.
Yeah.
It's just a matter
of...
Well,
and to your point, I mean, Bears are trying to build a defensive line rotation, right? Like, we watched Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack play 90% of snaps and start to wear down. And what the Bears want to build is more like what the Eagles have, where no one's playing more than 60% of the snaps, but it's constant full go, where balls to the wall every play. And that's what you can create with a guy like this in your rotation is you tell them we don't need you every snap, where sometimes you're 50%, sometimes you're 100%. We need you 40% of the snaps, 100%, and that's where his upside is massive.
I think J2K brings up a good point, by the way, and BLS, of course, anytime, love it. But so J2K points out that he may be better suited to be a one gapper instead of a two gapper, and I can completely understand that. I mean,
I have that in my notes here on him. Like, I think that he is best. Like, there's a play in here, I think, like how I said, I tried to put a negative play in for everybody where it's kind of like he probably shouldn't be two gapping. He was just not under control enough of the block to be able to reach where he needed to.
Right. And it's interesting just like watching all this kind of stuff where, Q, I don't know about you, one of the funniest things about two gap versus one gap, to me, I'm amazed at how often 320 pounds is a two gapper and 300 pounds flat or 290 is a one gapper. Like, how funny is it, right? Where you go, okay, he's a 260 pound tight end. He's a Y. And it's like, well, okay, how do you know that? You haven't watched this film. Because the U's are all 240. Like, I've looked it up a bunch. You know what I mean? Like,
10 pounds makes a big difference when you're talking about a half an inch to an inch of space difference, you know?
I mean, it's huge. It's huge. And what you're able to do with it, I don't want to say it like radically changes.
It's like if you're at the gym and you add 10 pounds to what you're doing on the bench press, you can't quite finish the rep, right? The last rep, you're just like, you're halfway up, but you need the spotter to help you. That's the difference of 10 pounds in the NFL.
Oh, yeah. And then you had 20.
Yeah.
Take us through our, what is it, last two IDL guys?
Yeah. So I got Keanu Benton. I think that's the last one, unless I missed someone.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah. Which, speaking of Akeem Hicks, Keanu Benton gives me just a hint of Akeem Hicks, like,
no, you can't just say that.
Of like, just a hint. Like, it's not obvious, but like the more I watched it, the more I saw it. Number 95 here, played 0 tech, 1 tech, 2 tech, 2I, 3 tech for Wisconsin. And we got tape against Purdue and Iowa in here. He's 6'4", 315 pounds. The first time he flashed for me, actually, I think was while watching Jarrett Patterson tape, where I was like, who is 95? I got to know who this guy is. 2-year starter. He was only a 3-star recruit out of high school. He was a 2-time state qualifier in wrestling in high school, which I love to see in the trenches. I always want a guy who wrestled in the trenches. He loves to jump. That's something that he might pay for that in the NFL a time or two, because he does love to jump when he's not getting there.
Well, Q, J2K mentions that he has a huge chip on his shoulder about people saying he's just a run stuffer, right? Which, yeah? Taking that,
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. So J2K, where'd you hear it? Because now I want to go hear the interview. I love it.
I can believe it, because I'm watching his tape. I was teetering back and forth between like, how much pass rush is this guy going to get? I know he can stop the run. And then like he'd make a play, I'd be like, this guy can rush the passer. But then like I can see where that narrative would come from.
Sure.
Definitely.
But then you see a pass deflection like this and you say he loves to jump. And I'm like, this guy is
you got up there too. Look at where the offensive lineman's mask is when he just like
Q,
he is his body high.
He is hell bent on making an impact against pass. Like he does. Who's to say?
And it's really surprising to me because Wisconsin loved to run him on these outside stunts, which you don't see a lot of nose tackles doing.
No,
like it wasn't like he got home, but he did what he was supposed to do. You know, he executed his job. Oh yeah, this one's nasty. And this is
no,
I'm not sure who the right guard is. This is last year's. They have Linderbaum at center here, and Linderbaum ate his lunch for the first half of this game.
Okay,
but he didn't. But Benton didn't stop. He found a way to beat it. Like he found a way to fix the issues, and played really well in the second half.
So J2K mentions he'll find it. It was about him going to the Senior Bowl, and they mentioned him as a run stuffer, and he immediately switched the conversation to how he's been working on multiple pass rush moves, and that he'll show him at the Senior Bowl. Just you wait.
Yeah.
So apparently, so if you want to bring a recorder, which I told you to anyways, you better have. But if you bring a recorder and you walk right up to, you said his name's Keanu Neal?
Benton.
If you walked right up to Keanu Benton after practice, you stick a mic in his face, and you say, Keanu, your pass rush has looked exceptional. He's just going to smile. Like, not that you have to, but this is a guy with something to prove.
Well, I just wrote that down on my notes that I'm bringing down there with me.
When you're talking about all these guys, to wrap up so that I mean it, guys, we're going to do a first for this whole, yes, technically year, but if we count it as an aggregated season, we're going to do an RPO first. We are going to go to bed before 12 because I need to. But within that, tell me, Q, if you had to pick some of the players that you've got, right, who do you think has the most to gain from the Senior Bowl?
The players I've got?
Not here. Just of the players that you've watched. I'm not going to make the assumption you've watched literally all of them, but if you have, like, claps.
Yeah. No, I've watched all the offensive line and defensive line except for like 5 who I couldn't find good tape on.
Nice. Nice.
Let me see. Let me pull up my list. So
J2K wants to know, by the way, what you think of Keon White.
Keanu White. I'm not sure I've watched him.
Keon White. Keion.
Is he at the Senior Bowl?
Is he at the Senior Bowl?
Yeah, he is. I did watch a game of him. He's thick. He's a thick edge who has some upside as an athlete. Let me see if I can find my notes. I couldn't help but thinking watching him that, like, his frame, the second I saw his frame, I kind of got more excited than I probably should have. But because the tape wasn't quite there, but it was like it can be. Like okay. He needed a bit. It just felt like he had a missing piece in his game, but like I saw some upside in him. I only watched one game. Let me see. Oh, you know what? His notes are in my other notebook. Sorry, I got too many notes.
Does 21? Let's see.
Yeah, so his burst was impressive to me, and he was just like I said, he's thick. Like thick and long, and not in like this guy's a run stuffer way. Like this guy is an impressive athlete kind of way.
Right.
He could hold his ground versus the run. I liked his motor. I saw him scraping across the line of scrimmage on run plays really well. And a straight line mover quickly. And I thought he was explosive when he was allowed to be. It felt like he had a lot of contained responsibilities and was often not allowed to just go.
Right.
If that makes sense. And my last note on him was he just has a brute force to his game that I liked.
I get that. That's badass.
Yeah. On the other side of it, I thought there were some balance issues with his bull rush. It seemed like I don't know if it was his base or just his baseline balance, but it seemed like his bull rush, he didn't bend on it, I guess. It's like we were saying earlier, some guys who are stiffer, they might get knocked instead of bending with it. And I felt like he had some of that, some issues with that. And his hands just needed to get better. And his feet, he was just raw. So like I said, it felt like there was just something kind of missing, but like a ball of clay was kind of my thoughts on him.
Sweet goodness. Started at Old Dominion as a tight end, transferred to Georgia Tech, played rush linebacker, then moved to DE and DT this last year.
Yeah, I had him playing
That's
9 tech, 5 tech, 4 tech, 3 tech, and 4I.
All right, I have some film up just to see him and know. But let's see. I haven't even figured out what number he is at this point, but we'll figure it out. I want to know. So when I'm thinking, like who's got the most to gain, who's got the most to lose, try to think of a player that you're thinking of, Q, where it's like in the world of gains, it's somebody who either is high but could be higher, or it's somebody that you think is low that if they play like you think they will, they'll explode. Does that make sense?
Yeah. High up, guys who are high up who I think can really make a jump. Will McDonald I've already talked about. Isaiah Foskey. I'm not sure where he's sitting right now. I've seen him talked about as like a second or third round guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's got some first round traits, and
I think so.
I am not sure why he is not seen that way, and I think it could be a bit of a coming out party for him if he plays it really well. Maybe he's just outshined by other Notre Dame players or their lack of success this year, or not lack of success, but they're bit
You
less.
can say lack of success.
Yeah. They didn't quite live up to what they were hoping this year, so maybe that was it. But his numbers are there, his tape is there, and I think his combine testing is going to be there. I'm just not exactly sure why he's down that low. Another guy who was really intriguing to me was Yaya Diaby out of Louisville. And he's largely like I don't even know if whose radar he's on. I just watched him because he's going to the Senior Bowl, and his athleticism was impressive. He was actually kind of similar to Keon White, who would also be another one that fits that bill, but long, filled out frame, and he had enough strength to hold up against the run. And he played kind of like Keon White. 4 tech, 4 eye, 5 tech, 7 tech, 9 tech, 6 tech. He played all across the D line. And there was different than Keon White, though. There was a smoothness to his game.
Right.
He had a lot of technique to work out, but he was just a smooth player generally. Not like I feel like you want guys who are either noticeably violent or noticeably smooth, right? Where everything either is just holy crap, that guy looks strong as all hell, or holy crap, that guy made that look so easy it looked like he didn't do anything.
Right.
And that's where I felt with Diaby sometimes, where it all just felt like it was easy when stuff was clicking. Little limited with explosiveness and some of the athleticism, but enough where I think he could be a quality player given the right circumstances, the right training, the right development. And I think he could show that out at the Senior Bowl. Wanya Morris, I think, has a lot.
Wanya looked like a guy that made
weekend.
a lot of sense for this.
Yeah. Just like we talked about earlier, I think that he is a guy who fell off the radar and has changed his game, has changed himself. You know, he does not at Tennessee, he looked tentative and unsure at times. I'm not sure there was a rep at Oklahoma where I felt like he looked unsure. He knew what he was going to do, you know, and he was fully confident in himself. And I think he can show out as a different player. See if there's any else that stand out to me. Jarrett Patterson I already talked about, but I think he's definitely a guy who can reemerge.
I can't help thinking Darnell Wright is going to come out of the Senior Bowl in the same draft spot that he went in. He'll either go up and really rise into that first round category, you know, or he will drop because something went really wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Man, so I watched the tape on this kid out of Florida A&M, this edge rusher, Isaiah Land. And oh my gosh, this guy is, I mean, he's small. He's thin. He's got good length, and he's got a chip on his shoulder. That's 100% for sure. But he's got some wicked bend. Like,
really,
I'm not sure if he'll ever go anywhere with it or not. But his bend was just, and maybe it was the fact that they were playing against, I don't know, he wasn't playing against NFL caliber players. I know that much.
Right.
But he just blew up off the tape on a few snaps, and it was like, okay, so that's a guy who could possibly come out of nowhere and just be, I mean, we know how everyone loves the underdog, right?
Right.
And he's an underdog because he's largely unknown right now. See, it was against Jackson State, so it was against Deion's team. So probably the best, like one of the best teams that he played all year. Yeah, he was salty. He is a salty player.
That's awesome.
And then I just passed one guy. Oh, a guy I'm interested to see, and I think probably might have the most to gain or lose this weekend out of anybody is Andre Carter out of Army.
Okay.
Edge rusher. His explosion off the line of scrimmage and his energy is outstanding. Like, he is a high motor, highly explosive player. But the thing that really got to me watching him was he's just got a thin lower half, I felt like I'm not sure how he's going to stand up. He didn't play the run that well and that often, but his pass rushing chops were like, that explosiveness was, you can't really beat it.
Right.
But how he shows an ability to hold up against power, I think, will matter a lot. How his leverage shows out. Because the want to is there. The want to is fully there. And how NFL teams evaluate, can this guy add some sand to his pants? Can he get thicker and better in the lower half? Because he wasn't small either. It just felt like maybe my perspective was just weird on it, but it just seemed like his legs were thin. But I think that he has talent that can really propel up if a team feels like they can add that mass and get him right against the run and with his leverage.
That's legit. I mean, you make it sound like there's a really phenomenal Senior Bowl class of just guys coming to Mobile ready to play.
I mean, I feel like there are a lot of other guys that I didn't send that I was interested in talking about, but this is also my first year doing this, so
sure,
this could be every year. We'll find out.
That's going to be the fun of it. I mean, truly, and by the way, J2K, Keon White he's one of those guys that's like, okay, so I can't help thinking of Darnell Washington, who's ironically on this tape also, where it's not that he's athletic because he's crazy fast. It's athletic because a person 290 pounds shouldn't look like he's 275 pounds, right? And that to me is certainly something that I look at and I'm like, man, like you're saying, yeah, I like the ball of clay. Like, there's a lot here where you're like, you can see the athleticism, you can see the utter lack of refinement, right?
Yeah.
And I'm with you, like Q. I feel like there's a lot of fun in the skill positions. There's not quite as much fun as I think we had last year. But then again, last year we had Khalil Shakir, we had Christian Watson, we had Jalen Tolbert, we had a bunch of sweet receivers overall. And this year it feels like a lot of the talents on offensive or like on OT and edge, like at least at the Senior Bowl. I mean, some of the names that you named, I'm like, I struggle to not see that being a first rounder. You know what I mean? And saying that at the Senior Bowl is crazy.
Some years, guys who have traits like just traits, not even production, like Derek Hall or Ali Gay or some of these edge prospects, like their first rounders just on the traits, And Ali Gay out of LSU is a guy similar to like Derek Hall, almost, but probably not on the same level, but like the explosiveness just popped.
I clearly need to watch another game of Ali Gay, because whatever game I watched, I was like, oh, this guy's not great. But I trust you. You're probably right.
Well, let me. Yeah, I just double checked my notes to make sure I didn't get it mixed up. I mean, my first note on here is strong, twitched up athlete with size,
right?
Explosive, fast, bendy.
It doesn't help anything that like like most people, Q, the first people that I know I watched were all the first rounders. So suddenly everybody gets compared to, and it's like, Isaiah Foskey's okay. It's like, okay, Robert, you're comparing him to Tyree Wilson and Will Anderson.
I fell into that first too, and then I was like, I came back and watched the second game like a week later after I started doing.
That's a good idea.
Once I started to realize that, and I think I actually heard you say something like that, and I was like, that makes sense. So I just watched offensive tackle for like a week. And then I came back to edge rusher. I was like, holy shit, these guys are fast.
That's awesome. Perfect. All right. Well, Q, thank you so much for jumping on and helping walk through this. So for those who don't know, you can follow my podcast over at Windy City Gridiron. And I would be shocked, by the way, Q, if you didn't want to record a Shaving Points, that we could do some Shaving Points stuff at the Senior Bowl where we can go, like, I plan on going through every single day on the podcast on just what I'm seeing. And Q, I'll need you there, because you're going to be my eyes and ears on the offensive line, defensive line side for whenever we split, because you can only track so much of this kind of stuff. So we're hoping for player interview content. We're hoping for some cool insight as to what's going on, who won, who did they win against, and the fact that we're actually able to track it. Because last year, I'll be honest with you guys, I knew a couple names, but because I didn't know everybody, it meant, okay, that rep is against Mario Goodrich. I know that corner. I know what that means. But I don't know who this, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name. Who's the kid? Oh, you'll know, Q. But I was like, I don't know who this Tariq Castro Fields guy is. Like, he can't be much. He's from some small school. Yeah. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? And because you haven't watched the tape, you're like, you're not thinking this guy could start for the Seahawks. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so now having a little bit more refinement into what I think our knowledge is going into the weekend. Look, does it mean we have every bit of information on these guys? Not a chance, but it does mean that it gives us a better picture of who's winning and who's not winning, and who got to go up against. Last year's Senior Bowl, there was an unfortunate example of a kid from Ouachita Baptist University playing corner, relatively small corner, not very fast. I don't know quite how he got an invite, if only maybe because Ouachita Baptist has some kind of pull, and Jim Nagy wanted to get in with the coach one way or another. I don't know, Q, but it was like that rep wasn't super helpful when wide receivers would go up against him, because, I mean, the awful truth about the NFL, and we'll say this in week 6, it's just as prevalent in draft season, right? The hardest part for somebody like Wanya Morris is he doesn't get to go up against Isaiah Foskey, right? He has to go up against Nick Bosa. He has to go up against the best in the NFL, because there isn't a minor league where he gets to go up against pretty good but not that guy. Like, your week 1 in the NFL might be against TJ Watt. Sucks. Yeah. Your week 1 in the NFL might be against Tristan Wirfs. Get used to it. Like, there's almost an aspect of, if these guys can't win against each other, then they won't win at the NFL level at all, because
there's a reason I had a lot of Georgia tape in here.
there is. And so it'll be awesome. I can't wait to dive into it. Make sure you're following our podcast, like Windy City Gridiron's podcast. You'll get to those Bear With Me episodes. I'm sure we'll do something with Jacob Infante, who's also going to be down there with us. So for those of you that know him, he's great. We'll have plenty of other Bears resources while we're there. Senior Bowl should be great. Luke Getsy's coaching. That's fun. So we'll get to hear from some Luke Getsy. Like, the coaches do talk, so we will get to hear from Luke Getsy, but I don't know what he's going to say, Q. But until then, Bears fans, thanks so much for tuning in. This was the first of what will likely be many draft streams. Can't wait to go through all kinds of different prospects with you guys. You're great. Thanks so much for hanging out. And until next time, everybody, bear down. And thanks so much for bearing with us.